everyone. It's week 12, and as Derek said in the comments, hell yeah, let's go. Guys, it's just about fantasy playoffs. All right, you came to the right place if you needed some start-sit help, and you also come to the right place if you want some, top 3 bets of the week, because that's what Alan is here for today. But before we jump into that, Dylan, Alan, how are you guys doing this morning?
I'm doing fine. Dylan, how'd that holdout go? Did you get a new contract?
You're muted, Dylan. That's $1 in the mute jar.
No, yeah, it worked out good, Joe. It took a little bit for Joe and I to come to terms, but no, it's all good to go. How's your guys' Thanksgiving?
Good. Now I was ready to win some money with Alan.
It was good until I made fun of nature, and that damn moon statistic actually came true.
That with the Lions or whatnot.
Yeah, man.
That was insane.
Somebody posted that in one of our chats, and
Jordan,
I saw it on Twitter. Yeah, and I was making fun of it.
Yeah, Jordan's posted in the background. That was me.
Yeah. I was like, man, I bet baseball, so I'm all about using weather and things like that. I was like, I'm not subscribing to the moon, the waning moon. But I kid you not, I took my dad's almanac after that. I was like, maybe it's something I don't know about.
That's funny. All right, before we jump into the good stuff, though, guys, make sure you hit that like button down below. Make sure you subscribe to us, and then if you guys want to know when we go live, hit that little bell up there for notifications. And then, honestly, the piece de resistance is fantasy6pack.net/plans. That's where you can get access to Alan. Dylan, if you really want to talk to him. You can get access to Joe and his rankings talk. All right, you can annoy the crap out of him. I do it on a weekly basis. It's fun. And then you can make your money back either through Alan's top 3 picks that we're going to be talking about today, or like Dave, Eddy, and Chris Robin over in the DFS section, and Keith Fleming as well. I know there's a little bit of difference between what type of games they play, but trust me, you guys can win your money back in the first slate just right there. All right, but without further ado, Alan, I know you said before the show, it's a wild week here, so I'm curious to see what you got for your top 3 bets of the week.
Yeah, it was more my props that were wild. The bets, I don't think the bets are that wild. I'll say that I think the Raiders, I saw it at 9.5, but it's at 9 now. I think that's the best play of the week for the simple fact that, one, the Chiefs haven't blown anybody out in a while. I think I talked about that way back when I did a show, and I think they were playing the Vikings or somebody, and I was like, well, they haven't covered a spread over 3 in a long time. And then anything in the division over 9 is a lot of points unless you're in the NFC East, apparently. Sorry, Joe. But I think the Raiders have been competitive. I was very surprised that they came under the number against the Dolphins because I thought schematically the Dolphins would give them fits, and they didn't. And they're a really explosive offense. So the fact that the defense was able to contain them a little bit, this Chiefs offense, even if they're catching the ball, they're still not that explosive. So I think we're getting a favor here with 9.5. Aiden O'Connell is much better than Jimmy G for this offense, and this team is got extra energy now that Pierce is the head of the team. So I think that's a good bet there. And then
as we've seen, Chiefs can't score in the second half either, so that definitely helps.
Yeah. That was a weird tidbit. I didn't even pay attention, honestly. I mean, when the team's as good as the Chiefs and they're consistent, when you get to these dynasty teams, you don't really watch a lot of their games. I don't know about everybody else. I didn't pay attention to the Patriots years 6 through 12 because it's all the same. You get it already. I'll just catch you in the playoffs. But it's very interesting that they haven't scored in the second half, and Andy Reid being an adjustment coach. I wonder if Pierce has any extra insight too, because he played in the NFC East so long as a player going against Andy Reid, and what he could do with that as a coach. That's something I'd be curious to know. Buccaneers money line was my second play, only for the value. I think the Bucks as a dog here is pretty good value. Colts haven't been that great against the run. I feel like the Bucks are going to establish that. And they're just one of those teams that the games that you don't expect them to win, they end up winning. They shouldn't be. I don't think they should be a dog against Indy. I'm sorry. I don't agree with that line, and I know folks are back and forth on it. If I'm gonna take it under 3, I'll just take a money line play on the Buccaneers for the value, and then spots that I think there's value if you buy the hook. Chargers and Bills. Chargers plus 3.5 if you buy the hook. Bills plus 3.5 if you buy the hook. At some point, the Eagles are going to lose again. Like, they're a good team. They're winning games, but they're getting ugly wins. The Bills really need this, and the Bills are sandwiched between that game, last week's game against the Chiefs, and then I think there's the game against the Cowboys or Niners or something coming up soon as well. Like, it's just a good spot for the Bills to sneak in a win here on the road. And then, like I said, if anything, I still believe it'll be competitive. I'm not a believer in the Eagles secondary. And I know there's been talk about Joe Brady and what he's doing with the offense. There really wasn't anything wrong with the damn offense. It's just Josh Allen's not being efficient. Like, well, if you scouted him, if you saw him at Wyoming, and if you saw him before Stephon Diggs, that's Josh Allen. He's not an efficient quarterback. He's a great playmaker, but yeah, he's going to turn the ball over. But with that, you're going to get explosive plays and spectacular plays and hopefully more touchdowns. Like, he's going to be generally a 2-to-1 guy, 2 touchdowns for every interception, and I don't understand why there was so much panic on it because it was a little bit off this year. But, they've got weapons. They just have to come up with a system where they get everybody involved. And hopefully Brady can get them there. They beat the Jets last week or something like that?
They smashed them for the most part.
Yeah, I'm not jumping in too high on that. They still have struggles on their defense. But again, situational plays matter a lot of times more than logic in the NFL, just like the waning moon. I think this is just a good spot for the Bills. And then the Chargers, again, Ravens riding high, traveling to the West Coast. I mean, the Chargers, they're way better than their record. They can't win a close game. So I would anticipate another close game, and I would take my 3.5. I think they keep it under a field goal. If they lose, it's usually on the last play, and it'll probably be a Justin Tucker kick, hopefully just for 3. No more than that. And then, like I said, my props I think are wild, but I am going to subscribe to the Steelers today. I think there's a bump getting Matt Canada out of there. And then having the Browning matchup, he's not a good quarterback at the NFL level. He was okay at Washington. I think he transferred somewhere after that too for a year. He was okay in college, but he's not a really good NFL quarterback. I'm gonna go with Kenny Pickett over 1.5 passing touchdowns, which is crazy, but you're getting 2-to-1 value on it. Like,
that's nice.
I can't help it. I'm sorry, I'm a gambler, people. Like, I'm like,
that's a gamble for you.
Yeah, I'm like, it's worth the risk. And then George Pickens to score anytime is plus 250. That's even crazier. I would think if Kenny Pickett gets 1 touchdown, at least go to Pickens, especially after the fuss he's been making.
Yeah.
And then Jaylen Warren over 48.5 yards is probably the safest play. But whenever I say things like that, that's usually the play that doesn't hit. But I don't mind taking risks. And prop-wise, I don't think there's a whole lot of value for the risk that you're taking this late in the season. Like, they've got some guys that are a little bit lower than their usual totals, like Jamar Chase. He's at 68 yards. Enticing. He's probably going to get at least 12, 13 targets this game. But is it really worth the risk? Because literally they don't have anything else going for them in the passing game. Sure. So I was like, I'll just go all in on the Steelers this week, thinking that I'll get some kind of bump. They'll try to get the ball to their playmakers. Matt Canada was just that bad.
Yeah, no, Matt Canada was something, that's for sure. He's
the worst offense I've seen in forever.
Then, Alan, we got Matt playing some props today. He's got Baker over 1.5 touchdowns, Kamara over 3 receptions, Ramondre over 2.5 catches, Stroud over 1.5 touchdowns.
Yeah, the Stroud stats. I actually looked at Stroud first. They got his passing yards at like 275.
Holy.
Yeah, I know. Like, I was like, man, that's a lot. And this is a revenge spot for the Jags. Not that it really matters per se, because I still think the Texans win. I actually have them on my contest. I just don't want people to stress over a 1.5 spread. You know, like let's just take the easier points here with the Raiders and everybody else. But yeah, Baker over 1.5 touchdowns. I think he's been better on the road than he's been at home. And then Kamara, man, like if Derek Carr is playing, he's just gonna check down every time. That team is frustrating. And I think all those are solid plays, man. And, if you're going to throw them in a parlay, give it a shot. Stroud over 1.5 touchdowns. If they're scoring, he's more than likely passing. So that's a good play. 275 is a lot of yards, man. And he's still a rookie. I love him to death. He's been playing amazing, but there's still going to be moments where you're going to be like, he's still a freaking rookie.
Yeah, he's going to show it. He's going to have his rookie moments.
Yeah.
But it was funny because what you said about the Saints, and the award for the most unrealized air yards goes to Chris Olave on the year. Because this man is just going to rack up the unrealized air yards with Derek Carr and not be able to actually get any fantasy points. It's very upsetting. And then as soon as Jameis Winston comes in, poof, he explodes. So we kind of want Winston for the offense, I feel like, from the fantasy community more.
Oh, yeah, because
of course
you're going to have to pass. You're going to be down, man. I don't understand his interceptions sometimes. I'm like, what the heck? Like, yeah, are you colorblind too? Like,
I was just gonna say he got contacts now. He should be able to see. But Alan, did you have any more bets possibly for the day, or is that pretty much
any more bets that I might see? I'm gonna throw them on Twitter. I thought these were the safer bets. I don't like to overload people with like a 20 prop card or whatever, because I don't even bet it like that. Like I try to limit myself to 10 bets a week. 5 of those bets are bets that I put in my contest anyway, right? Because I gotta make 5 picks for my super contest. So I try to do 5 spread picks, 5 prop picks, and typically what I'll do is I'll save 2 props for the primetime games, which is Sunday night and Monday night too. Because again, one of the things about gambling, you need moderation. I am in between jobs and just finally got my first paycheck for my new job. So going out, throwing out these big bets would be in poor taste for me. I'd be holding out like Dylan did last week.
Dylan, you're muted again too, just so you know. But guys, obviously if you don't follow him already, follow him on Twitter at ActivityLazy85 if you want to go check out these bets that he's going to be posting up on his Twitter page. But also let everybody know what else you do before you head on out.
So I will be back this week doing a show. I'm going to be doing it from my studio. I would have did it last week, but I thought it would have been weird because it's Thanksgiving, and so I just popped into the Discord a little bit. Scheduling wise, you can catch me in the Discord. You can catch me on Twitter. Anytime you want to speak to me directly or you feel like I'm not listening, just directly message me. You get those alerts too. It's just sometimes I'm really busy. Yesterday I was doing live football playoff games and basketball games for our local university here in Richmond, and both teams were playing. So I had to do 2 games. So I was literally on the mic for 6 hours. So it was a lot. So feel free to DM me. And then ESPN Radio 106.1 here in Richmond if you're local. If not, you can see it on my Facebook or on our Twitter, the ESPN Richmond Twitter. I stream that, and we do give out picks on Thursday and Friday. There is a resident degenerate down in Florida who just won $1.5 million on one of his parlays, and he's got that Mattress Mac bank, so he can do that. But it was a crazy teaser that he had, and he had the Eagles to win against the Chiefs to kind of seal the deal. And so we had him on air talking about if he should cash out or let it ride. He let it ride, but it's just we're trying to make it more fun for some of the gamblers and just people who just generally want sports talk. But I will forewarn you, that host is like 1980s Washington Redskin fan, so it can get a little boring. So keep that in mind.
Joe's in the background going, "Yeah,
I know it's from the if I have to hear about the Hogs one more time, and I swear, seeing you guys is a breath of fresh air."
And damn hogs.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny as hell.
I'm jumping in. Hey, what's wrong with that, man?
Surprise appearance.
It's killing
Go
me, man.
What's wrong with that? You're not even wearing a Commander's hat. That's what's wrong with it.
Because the Hokies
beat
dominated
UVA
last night,
yesterday.
man. Virginia's a state, baby.
Yeah, if you saw how the Hokies beat UVA
Holy
yesterday, you
cow.
would wear that hat too.
55-17.
Oh,
Smackdown, baby.
If you want to see a funny video, check out.
We
when
rushed
they tried
their
to
own
take
field.
the photo. They threw the sprinklers on them.
Yes. They came back out of the field after they celebrated with the Commonwealth Cup, and they put the sprinklers on them.
It was great.
That is
Yeah, we rushed their field.
Yeah, I know.
Because we own their stadium, dude. If you go to it's like there's a funny thing on I don't know if it's still there, but for a while on Google Maps, if you looked at Scott Stadium, it was labeled as Lane Stadium North. Lane Stadium is
North.
the Hokie Stadium for those who don't know. Yeah.
I'm
North.
I'm not a big Wahoo fan, so they took the Twitter from me yesterday. They said I couldn't troll them. I had it ready, man. I had stuff in the queue just ready.
That's good. All
Yeah.
right. Sorry
That's
to jump
funny.
in. Had
No,
to
it's
talk
you
about
might.
that.
I mean, you might as well. Just stick around
You're the
here.
boss.
Yep, I'm good. I'm good. I had to jump in when you was dogging the hogs,
You hear
man.
Billy? He's like, "You're the
Come
boss." Last week it was.
That's all we got.
But Alan, we appreciate you coming on here every Sunday morning and kind of giving us a little insight into your bets for the week, your props for the week, because I know you make some money off those. So it's nice to share it with everybody else too, man. But make sure you go check him out at on Twitter at ActivityLazy85 if you want those extra bets. Otherwise, thank you, Alan, for joining us, and good luck on your bets for the rest of the day, man.
Yeah, and just real quick, I'm 59% for the season. It's not quite competition good, but it's still better than average. So it's not all lost.
It's above 500.
Yeah, hopefully we can get that thing up to like the mid-60s, and then I can come back and really talk.
But yeah, hey, after this week, it'll be up in the mid-60s, and we can come brag about it next week.
Yeah, man. Good luck to you guys.
Have a good one, Alan.
Yeah.
See you, man. All right. Sorry
that
about
was
that, guys.
great. No, that was I knew you wanted to come in because I could hear you in the back. I saw you in the background just geeking up, and I was like, all right, he wants to say something. But how you doing? How you doing this morning, Joe? For everybody who doesn't know, this is Joe. This is the owner of Fantasy Six Pack, top 5 ranker. So I mean, if you got questions, now's the time to ask them. But before we get to your questions, Dylan has some questions for Joe about his rankings.
Wrong background, by the way, just to let you all know.
Yeah, that's on me. I'll take the blame. I'm the scapegoat.
Yeah, well, you are the producer.
I mean,
that would make sense.
As long as you know.
I'm also the host, so like I'm a hybrid role. So I don't know what you want from me.
All right,
Dylan,
Joe.
let's get to those rankings questions.
Let's jump right into it here at the quarterback position. Joe, you have ECR from our website has Josh Dobbs at QB 12. Joe, you have him as QB 9 this week, kind of as a sedative for getting QB 1. What are your thoughts here against the Bears on Monday night?
Yeah, man. The Bears have been better lately against quarterbacks, but they're still not good. And then if you look over at Dobbs, like since he's been with Minnesota, he's been QB 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in fantasy points per game with them. I just think he offers a little bit of rushing upside. He'll run some in, so that kind of gives him a safer floor than some of these other quarterbacks that he's above right now. But he's just been playing well, man. And then there's still the possibility that Justin Jefferson's going to come back, so that's just another boost, man. Like he's been good, and I mean, to be honest, QB 9 might be low, but it's really hard to put him over some of the guys that are above him because they're just in that they're a little more elite categorical quarterbacks. When you look at them.
I was telling these guys on Friday, like Josh Dobbs is second in the league in rushing yards for QBs behind only Lamar Jackson. Like he's even got more yards than Jalen Hurts right now running the ball. That's how much he's running.
Jalen Hurts just gets those 1 yard touchdowns. Swift and everybody are like, oh, we're about to score. Let me just go down to the 1. Here you go, Jalen.
It's just a weekly
annoying.
occurrence. But...
Annoying.
Once a week.
looking at the running back position now, Joe. Josh Jacobs, ECR is high on him this morning. They have him at RB11. You're a little bit more down on him, having as RB16. What are your thoughts on Jacobs in a tough matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, I know. I want to say volume's gonna be there for him regardless because they're gonna have to try to force it.
Yep.
But I do worry that the Chiefs could get up, pretty big, pretty early here.
Really? You think the Chiefs will get up?
What?
The way they've been playing, you think the Chiefs will get up?
I mean,
that's what I kind of agree
the
with
Raiders,
Alan.
man. They're not going to have Max Crosby most likely, so that's going to really hurt their defense.
I'll give you that.
So I do think that the Raiders are going to struggle today, and Pat Mahomes is going to get there. I actually like Pacheco better than this game because I do kind of think that they could just run this ball down the Raiders' throat. I mean, I do like Jacobs from a volume standpoint. That kind of keeps his floor a little higher, but he really just hasn't just crushed lately. He's averaging, I'm looking at half PPR, he's averaging 13 points per game the last few weeks. One against the Jets, okay, but last week against Miami, like you kind of thought maybe that could be a spot where he could get something going, but it just wasn't, man. And so you kind of worry if that could be the same type of game script with him there, where they just kind of shut down Jacobs and just make Aiden O'Connell try to beat him, and he's just not going to. So I'm kind of afraid of with Jacobs moving forward with this move to Aiden O'Connell. The offense really isn't getting going.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Looking at the next guy here, Ramondre Stevenson, ECR, running back 19. Joe, you're a little bit down on him at RB23, even after a couple good weeks from Ramondre. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean it's really offense predicated here. Again, kind of the same thing as the Raiders. I mean, the offense is bad. Look, we could be looking at Bailey Zappi still. Like, is this really going to get any better than Mac Jones? Like, I don't know. I mean, look, I know the matchup. We want to say the matchup is good against the Giants, and it is. But I mean, yeah, Stevenson did okay last week, right? I mean, he saw a ton of carries, 20, his most on the season so far. They are getting him more involved in the offense, so that is great to see. Because early on, before the last couple of weeks, and really actually before last week, like he just wasn't getting the workload that we were hoping to see from Stevenson. Right. They were using Zeke a lot, and they still are. Do we want to bank on 20, 22, 23 touches for Stevenson? I don't know if I'm quite there yet. It just hasn't happened on the regular this year. I just kind of feel like this game could just really be super low scoring on both sides.
Yeah.
And it could just get ugly, man. So I just, not really feeling it there with Stevenson.
Totally fair. Not a lot of upside for a touchdown, kind of like what you alluded to. Switch it over to the wide receiver position now. Let's start with Nico Collins, ECR wide receiver 21. Joe, you have him up as wide receiver 16. And that surprised me a little bit. He gets Jacksonville this week, and he's only finished as a top 16 wide receiver in half PPR formats once out of his past 5 games played. So I'm curious your thoughts here.
Yeah, man. I've been going back and forth. I'm not going to lie with you guys. I've been going back and forth between how high to put Nico Collins. I could easily throw him
higher than Tank Dell.
No, I have
Yes.
Tank Dell in the single digits here. So
that's what I like to hear, Joe. Go on.
Nico is one of those guys that he's got all the talent, but they do have a lot of weapons there. Obviously, Tank Dell. I kind of alluded to it in the usage article this past week, where it seems like Tank Dell is now the go-to guy, the one to trust more than Nico. And it wasn't that way early on. Tank Dell had his games, but it wasn't consistent. Now we're seeing Tank Dell just kind of take over. Nico still saw 7 targets last week. It's not like he's
11 actually.
Oh, he caught 7. That's what it was.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he still saw a crazy amount of targets last week. 11 targets, 7 receptions. Look, if we're all predicting this game to be high scoring, there's no doubt in my mind that Nico could easily hit this ranking. If it doesn't score the way the way that we hope, Nico's going to probably be in like the 25-ish range, if not lower. That's what I think could happen. So I'm kind of banking on this score being high. I love this game as far as
this will be a fun one
from a fantasy standpoint. I hope it does not disappoint. I really don't.
Yes, please, fantasy gods, don't let this game disappoint. This is one of the most probably exciting games of the week.
Yeah.
Yep. Great.
Both
Next
offenses coming in on fire.
Definitely. Next guy I want to talk about here is Devonta Smith, ECR wide receiver.
Don't talk about my man like that.
Taking on Buffalo. Joe, you have him as wide receiver 24, actually, which surprised me with no Dallas Goedert in the lineup. What are your thoughts here against a banged up Buffalo defense?
Yeah, I mean, look, Devonta Smith has not been the most consistent guy in the world, man. The last 3 weeks, we're looking at fantasy points of 19, 13, and 13. 13 fantasy points last week put him at wide receiver 20. So, I mean, that's kind of what we're looking at here.
Man, he's 1 yard away from changing that narrative, though.
I know. He's another guy that I've been sort of throwing back and forth. Like this whole range here, and honestly, it's a large range. You're looking at Nico Collins, DJ Moore, Zay Flowers, Adam Thielen, Devonta Smith, Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, all these guys. I mean, I could flip-flop these guys around all day long, and I'll be wrong a lot, I'm sure, with it. But it's just sort of like, my gut says lower Devonta Smith a little bit here. We're gonna see obviously a lot of AJ Brown, I think, and then I wouldn't be surprised if Swift gets going in this one too.
I mean,
just to kind of try to keep the ball away from Josh Allen and company.
To help your argument, I looked up the games that Devonta Smith didn't play with Dallas Goedert. In the last 5 that he's played, he's only hit 100 receiving yards in 2 of the last 5. Granted, like I said, he was 1 yard away from the Chiefs game from changing that narrative because he would have been 3 of 5, and then had 3 touchdowns in those games without Dallas Goedert. But he only has 2 touchdowns and only over 100 receiving yards twice in the last 5 games without Dallas Goedert. So I get what you're saying. Like it's not as much as everybody thought he was going to get originally.
Yeah.
But he does average 10 targets a game in those 5. So I mean that's good. We love that. That's sexy. 10 targets a game. It's just not the yards.
And then had another guy lined up for you, but I think we're going to go ahead and skip him, Joe. I want to throw this guy at you, though. Zay Flowers, ECR, wide receiver 22. You have him as 19. I actually thought you were going to have him ranked higher because with no Mark Andrews out, but you're feeling pretty good about Zay Flowers this week taking on the Chargers?
I mean, yeah, the Chargers, the Chargers secondary defense in general, not been good, right? They allow the second most points to wide receivers this season overall. They've just been, they've been terrible. They shockingly been worse than the Commanders. No Andrews. You expect this target, the targets to shift a little bit. Obviously, I think Odell gets a boost. Zay Flowers gets a small boost. He was already sort of in this range a lot of weeks anyway, so I don't know how much more targets he's going to get, but I do think a couple actually going his way just helps just that little bit more. The fact of it is though, like the Ravens are probably going to almost lean more heavily on the run, which is I don't know how that's even possible, but they will. So I do like Flowers though. This matchup for sure against the Chargers is a tasty one.
Yes, it is. And then if we just touch on this for 30 seconds, looking at the tight end position, there wasn't any big rankings discrepancies, but one thing that jumped out to me was Trey McBride being, with nobody on bye weeks this week, Trey McBride being ranked as tight end 4. That's just something I wasn't expecting. But how do you heading into the season?
You should have. I told you I would have taken.
Stuff, but
I told you a couple weeks ago in our show I would have taken him above Kincaid, but no, you didn't believe me.
Look, over the last couple of weeks, Trey McBride is 3rd in tight end targets, and those are the weeks with Mr. Kyler Murray back. So give me that volume for a tight end. If he can fall into the end zone, we're talking a much different story with him as far as, tight end points, but he has been really, really good the last couple of weeks. And look, there's no Michael Wilson this week. Marquise Brown is a little banged up. He's still possibly might not even play. I think if that happens, if I knew before the 1 p.m. lock that Marquise Brown wasn't going to be there, I might move McBride even higher. But we don't know that. There's a lot of talk that Marquise Brown will play this game. But, this McBride's just been a target hog for this offense since he has moved into the starting lineup, and especially these last couple of weeks with Kyler Murray. So I'll take him. I'm mad at myself. I started him over Laporta this past week in Raz Bowl. And Laporta it may not work out. Laporta got me 17.5 on my bench, but he hadn't been doing as well, and I was playing the volume game. So it still could work out, but it's gonna take a lot. It's gonna take a lot, especially when Laporta got that super early touchdown. I was like, oh man.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think it's a little hot takey at all, but I think I think McBride is easily taking the job from Zach Ertz. I know Zach Ertz is on IR, and he might come back at the kind of towards the end of the year, but I think it's McBride's.
Yeah, no, it's McBride's. It's all done for Zach Ertz.
Yeah, unfortunately, so it is done for Zach Ertz the way McBride's been playing. And I think that wraps up your last question for the rankings, Dylan. So, Joe, we appreciate it. As always, coming on, giving us a little insight into your Week 12 rankings. But make sure you tell us what you're doing, and then where everybody can find you at.
Yeah, obviously over fantasy6pack.net, you can catch the Fantasy Six Pack Hour usually every Thursday. This past week was Tuesday because of Thanksgiving, but every Thursday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time over on our YouTube channel right here. And then obviously the rankings is what I'm most known for, but I also write a usage trends article over on the site. Usually comes out every Tuesday. So make sure you check that out before your waiver wire kicks off on Wednesday morning.
Absolutely, because we love usage. That's fantasy football for you.
Absolutely.
But good luck in your Week 12 rankings contest. Hopefully we get another top 5 finish from you, and then we'll be bragging about it next week.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw that tweet I threw out, by the way. I threw out some little stats, some little tidbits from it. Very interesting. I was doing something about the Broncos, and I just kind of looked at their stats. Did you guys know that Cortland Sutton has 14 red zone targets this year, tied seventh most, and he has 8 red zone touchdowns?
I told Dylan about this on
Absolutely crazy. I was like, holy cow.
Only one receiver has more receiving touchdowns than him. It's Tyreek Hill. It's the only one. It's
absolutely bonkers. I was like, holy cow. I mean, that just has to make you want to rank him and flex consideration.
It does. But I looked at it
easily a flex, because that raises the ceiling, in my opinion.
It does. I looked at the stats for it. The last 5 games, he scored a touchdown, but you take away the touchdown, which obviously you can't. But let's just say in a world he doesn't get those touchdowns, he's only averaging about 4.5 catches.
Oh, of course,
54 yards. It's just not enough volume.
That's why.
But it is so
he
touchdown
lower.
dependent right now.
That's why he ranks lower, because that volume isn't there, and it's not great. But that touchdown ceiling being there, and those targets being in the red zone, that's monster. So that's why I love doing that article. I find little
you find anomalies
tidbits like that, and you're like, holy man, it just makes you open your eyes.
I know that kind of blew my mind when I saw Cortland Sutton had 8 touchdowns on the year, second for all wide receivers. I was like, what?
All right. Well, I know
But,
I'm running late, guys, so I will I'll let you
appreciate you,
guys
Joe.
get to it. See you guys.
Appreciate you. Peace.
Joe.
All right, now we're gonna. What's going on there, Joe? I bring you out. I'm the producer. Remember. But let's bring on JJ here. Now we're gonna start the sit portion of the show. We're running a little late, so we're gonna do some rapid fire here. But before we do, how's it going, JJ? Nice Dallas Cowboys hat.
Yeah, it's kind of like what Joe said about the Virginia Tech hat. Similar vibes with my Cowboys today. Just after a dominant performance like that, I don't know how I don't come on and be wearing this stuff right here. But man, it's good. The big wins are already out of the way for the week, so I can kind of just sit back and enjoy the football today. Life's good, man.
Joe gave you a little birdie in the background.
Oh, I saw.
Oh, that's funny. I mean, Dak Prescott has just absolutely been killing it, and that the Cowboys have been dominated, and he's just like, you know what, I'm gonna throw it anyways, and we love it here in fantasy football.
Me too.
But I mean, let's jump right into those start set questions because I know we got a lot in the comment section here. And
we can't run late today. I think we had some of Dave and Chris's people in my DMs and showing up at my house like, hey, you guys got to stop getting them on here late. They got that DFS money to send their people after me, so we better zoom through. I'm just a start sit guy,
I'm glad I didn't give away my address yet. But Albert came on first here with our first question. And he wants to know Rachaad White or Kyren Williams, full point PPR this week. And I know it's risky to do it, but when Kyren Williams has been playing, he is Sean McVay's new Todd Gurley. He's going to get at least 20 touches when healthy. Rachaad White has been hotter lately, but give me the matchup against the Cardinals.
I'll go the opposite way on that one. I'll go Rachaad White. I just feel more confident in the role. I'd like to see Kyren back for a week before I throw
That's
him
the
in.
risky part.
Especially if I have an option like White that I feel pretty good about. I think I'd rather see it for a week. So I'll go White here.
Yeah, I'm with Jordan too. I think the safer play is Rachaad White myself. I guess I shouldn't say it would surprise me if Kyren Williams got 20 touches because we've already seen it multiple times this season. But I'd be a little bit shocked to see it after being out for 4 or 5 weeks, whatever it's been.
Yeah, I just look at the odds of who is more likely to get 20 plus touches, and even with Kyren Williams coming off the injury, I still think he's more likely to get 20 plus touches. Like if Rachaad White gets 20 touches, it'll probably be on like 6-7 receptions, which is good. PPR, we love that. But I mean, I know Kyren Williams going to get 20 touches when he's healthy on that offense and in the primo matchup against the Cardinals. And then Derek over here, he was actually first before Albert. That's my bad. Who do you think starts at QB this week for New Orleans? I think it's Derek Carr.
Yeah, it's Derek Carr.
Unless there's some other news I haven't heard. Yeah, I think Carr. I do too, man. I'm a Jameis guy.
I do like Jameis. He's just more entertaining to watch. And then this isn't his question, but I got to put it up. Feel like this is asking, hey, do you want to get punched in the face or the dick because he needs a QB this week, Tyler? And it's Danny DeVito or Jake Browning.
Not Danny DeVito, man.
Why do I keep saying Danny? Why do I keep saying DeVito? I think he's in relation to Danny for some reason.
Oh, man, I don't like either of these matchups.
DeVito,
really.
Yeah, DeVito against the Patriots and Cincinnati. Let me pull that up here. Pittsburgh.
I'll go Browning here simply because of the weapons he's throwing to. Like, I don't like either matchup. I don't think either of them has a huge day. I'm a little bit more confident, I guess, for some reason in Bill Belichick just creating nightmares for DeVito because that's like the type of thing it seems like he would do.
I agree.
So I'll go the Browning way, and it's just simply because of the guys he's throwing to.
He's got a weapons upgrade or a weapons advantage. I personally
arguably a tougher matchup though with Pittsburgh's defense.
I don't know because like Bill Belichick has had rookie QB's numbers ever since he's been in the league. So that's where I'm really kind of banking off of because we have like 20 plus games of evidence of Belichick, getting in a rookie's head. I mean, he made Sam Darnold see ghosts when he was a rookie.
The only problem with that is now the Patriots stink.
The
offense stinks. The offense absolutely does stink, and this is why they're debating between Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones. All right, but again, if Mac Jones and Browning are bad, and they're throwing, Mac Jones and Zappi are bad, and let's say they throw a pick six, DeVito ain't gonna need to throw it. Then they're just gonna be handing it off to Saquon Barkley. Like that's a game you just don't want to watch. The Giants Patriots. Let's be honest. So at that point, give me Browning.
Yeah,
that's a tough
I lean
one.
Browning because of the weapons too. Jordan said it perfectly. That's the tiebreaker there.
Yes, sir. And then good old Bob Dole. It's nice to see you, Bob. He has Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, Kamara, Cooper Kupp, Jordan Addison, Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Justin Jefferson. I don't think is playing this week. He is questionable for the week, but I don't think they play him. But he needs one wide receiver, one running back, and one flex. Let's break it down. Let's do the wide receiver first. He's got Kupp, Addison, Ridley, and Kirk.
I'm just going to go Cooper Kupp. I'm not going to overthink it, Mike. I know you're going to talk about how you think he's a decoy. I don't believe you. So I'm still going with my guy, Cooper Kupp here.
I mean, go ahead, Jordan. Go ahead.
I'm torn between the two Jags. I'm a Kirk guy personally. I will say I've been a pretty big hater of Ridley, but last week was the first week he's looked kind of like his old self. I'm like, okay, maybe it just took him 9 games to kind of get his legs back under him. With that being said, though, also go Kirk. I think he's a little bit safer, but I am aware that Ridley could be finally stepping back into that alpha role like we wanted to.
And then just a nice tidbit. The Texans allow the 5th most fantasy points to slot receivers in fantasy football, and that's where Kirk is. So it is a very good matchup for him.
And that is my wide receiver, actually.
So
I know my argument, and I got no sources behind this at all, but I personally just think Cooper Kupp's going to be a little bit of a decoy today. I think it's negligent to use him otherwise off of that ankle sprain. But then also, you look at the past 3 games for Cooper Kupp, even when he has been healthy, he's wide receiver 86 in PPR. So, if he's not even 100% healthy, all right, or if he is 100% healthy and he's wide receiver 86 the past 3 games, and now we're going to get him, kind of banged up off the ankle sprain, do you really still want to play him? Give me some. It's like what you were giving me with the Kyron Williams argument with Rashad White. Give me somebody a little bit safer with Christian Kirk for the wide receivers.
Yeah, I hear you. Those stats are a little flawed though, because he did get Brett Rippon in one of those games as his quarterback, so that's not.
18 targets. So he's only getting 6 targets the past 3 games too. That is not the Cooper Kupp we're accustomed to seeing.
I hear you.
And then he needs one running back. He's got Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, and Kamara. I think the easy answer in this one is Kamara.
Oh, I'm going Taylor, actually. I think he's my number 1 here. I'll go Taylor.
I go Taylor as well, but I think I'm sliding Kamara in as my flex play.
I agree with that. Yeah, Kamara, Henry, and Kirk for me.
I'm actually,
Kamara Taylor, not Henry. Kamara Taylor.
I don't think you can go wrong with the flex here, Bob Dole, because honestly, my flex was going to be between Taylor and Henry, and I was leaning Henry mainly because I'm sticking to my guns, and he is my silly string pick of the week. He's going to get over, so I got Derrick Henry this week, but you can't go wrong with Taylor or Henry in the flex there.
I might have lost my silly string bet last week. Now that you say that, I don't remember.
I think you did. Joe posted a tweet about it.
I might have to go back and check that. Yeah, I feel like Kincaid came just under at half PPR for me.
We're going to need that video, Jordan. We're going to need that
video.
I need to go back
and check the stats before I officially commit to a loss. I want to recount the votes first, but we'll get back on that.
I wish Joe was in the background here. I could just see his mic and his chair sitting there, but I can't see him. I'd be telling him to do it. All right, Derek wants to know, are the Broncos going to beat Cleveland today?
I don't think so. I think the DTR gets his win today.
He gets another win. He gets his first winning streak in the NFL, 2 in a row.
I think so. I think he gets the first win that he played a big part of. How about that? I think he has a pretty decent day today. I'll give him 225 a passing and a rushing touchdown, though. That's what I'm saying. 225 a passing and a rushing touchdown.
Broncos defense
is 18, QB 20.
I would actually go 55-45 in this situation, but I lean Cleveland. It's close.
Give me Cleveland too. I'm all right with that.
All right. And then Tyler wants to know, you playing Stroud or Trevor Lawrence for DraftKings? I don't know their pricing, but I assume Lawrence is cheaper.
Yeah, but I'm assuming if he's asking, it's probably pretty close.
But I always look at it like this. You got 2 good options here at quarterback with 2 decent matchups. They're facing each other. I'd probably just go Lawrence for the money saving just because it's going to be a little bit cheaper. You can, use that extra money in a wide receiver spot or a flex spot.
Give me Stroud there, Tyler.
But I'm going straight off of just value for you.
Yeah.
Jordan, if you don't want to answer it because it is DFS, we'll leave that one.
Yeah,
For Dave
I
and Chris.
think I kind of agree with your general premise of whichever one's cheaper, go with that because I think they're probably similar tier this week.
For the most part, yeah. And then Malcolm, thank you for joining us, man. If you got more questions, hit us up. But he needs to pick 3: Eckler, ETN, JT, or Kyron Williams.
I think Kyron's the one you said. Kyron's the one
three.
you said here, just with the uncertainty with him coming back from injuries, because those guys are just locking in right now. Eckler, ETN, and JT. You just kind of let Kyron hang out this week.
Man, you guys worried about Eckler at all this year? Like, they posted out a clip of him from this last game where he had a breakaway run and only got up to like 13 miles an hour. Like, one of the tackles had like a more explosive run on that play, like in terms of miles per hour. Do you think it's just kind of that leftover ankle, or do you think that we're kind of starting to see like the start of the decline for Eckler?
I think we're getting to that point, man. He's got a lot of touches over the years, and now at this point, and he's had a lot of injuries. He hasn't missed a ton of time recently, but he did a little earlier this year.
The high ankle, yeah.
Yeah, he's been always banged up a little bit, always on the injury report. So it could be starting to take a toll on him a bit. He's 28, I think, right?
He will be 28, yeah.
I disagree with both of you on this one. I'm actually sitting JT and playing Kyron Williams. JT against the Buccaneers, stout run defense, and I mean, granted, I know he hasn't been healthy, but technically the last 3 games Kyron Williams has played has been more than Jonathan Taylor's last 3 games. I know it's coming off an injury, but it's still more. Like, that is just the volume aspect that I want with Kyron Williams. Like,
where do you think Jonathan Taylor is ranked in our ECR on site, Mike?
Probably 5-6.
Second.
Is he really?
I can't sit. Yeah, I'm not. I can't sit him this week. I'm not doing that.
I just look at the matchup. Like the Buccaneers are a tough defense to run against. You know that.
No.
Where Arizona has just a cake matchup against running backs. That's the thing.
One of the Los Angeles teams need to change their colors. I keep getting mixed up when I'm looking at my schedule because just like Los Angeles with like a blue and yellow logo real quick. And then I keep getting the matchups mixed up. One of them needs to make their team red or something next year.
And then Derek, he has Minshew, looks like Javonte Williams, Rashad White, Michael Pittman, McBride, Broncos defense. He needs a wide receiver and a flex. So
wide receiver is Pittman, right?
Yeah, the wide receiver is Pittman. The flex is Rashad White.
Who's Denver got? Denver's got a tough matchup.
Cleveland. Yeah, that's why I lean White. The matchup's a little better in his favor.
I'll go White and Pittman there.
But I think you can slide Williams in there too. It's just a tougher matchup. Running backs for Cleveland.
If it's super flex, does that mean Minshew's eligible? Or is that just?
I'm not 100% sure. Yeah.
Derek, if you can comment back and clarify this question a bit, because
is this super flex?
Struggled with it and interpreting it a bit.
Just want to make sure we're getting you the right answer. Yeah,
no doubt.
Because if it's super flex, I mean, 9 times out of 10 you're playing the quarterback. Yeah. Man, that was let us know in the comments.
I'll stack Minshew and Pittman if it is that option. Otherwise, I'll go. What did we say? Pittman and I think Rashad. Was that the other option there?
Pittman and Rashad, yeah. If it's not super flex. And then what's good, Jamie? All right, he wants to know full point PPR, Amari Cooper or Cortland Sutton.
Sutty.
Yeah, I'm gonna ride the wave with Cortland Sutton as well there.
And I love Amari Cooper. I love that guy, but man, Cooper, or Sutton, man, he's on a heater right now. I think you just got to keep riding that out.
So, Amari Cooper did get 8 targets last week with DTR.
No matter who's a quarterback, man, that guy's going to get 8 to 10 targets. It's just, are they going to be accurate targets? Which I think this week DTR is a little better, but I'll still go Sutton.
Oh, I just got a report. The Pittsburgh Steelers will be targeting George Pickens more and giving more carries to running back Jalen Warren, per Ian Rappaport. That's a good one. We like that. This one I lean Sutton. You are touchdown dependent, Jamie, but, I mean, he's got 5 in a row. Why not 6? All right.
Let's go.
Then he also has 2 here. Pick 2, McBride, Schultz, or Judy. Full point PPR and not tight end premium.
Give me the tight ends there, actually. That's where I'm going to go. I don't think Judy's It's not a good matchup for Jerry Jeudy either, so
I think I agree, actually. I mean, Schultz is a
Yeah.
lock the way he's been playing. It's McBride or Judy. I think I kind of agree with you.
Man, yeah, Judy's the one that's getting the least amount of targets out of all three of these options. The past 3 games, only 16 for him. Oh man, that's disgusting. Judy is averaging 10 points a game the past 3, though, so it is a safe floor.
He's finished as a top 36 wide receiver in 3 out of 4 games too. Now I'm kind of.
I think it's McBride
here,
and I think it's McBride and Judy for me, just because it is hard to start that second tight end.
Nope, I'm going tight ends still. I'm leaning them.
Yeah,
because I still think you're touchdown dependent with Schultz.
That's close though. Good question, Jamie. That one's tough.
I think I lean McBride and Judy in that one, especially if Cortland. Because here's the thing, I would take Sutton over Amari Cooper, like we talked about in the last question. But the thing is Sutton's going to have Denzel Ward on him. So
Denzel Ward's out.
Well, I mean, I like that even better for Judy because Judy's going to get the third stringer.
right.
He's going to get the third stringer, where the second stringer is going to go to Cortland Sutton. So like, the fact he has double-digit fantasy points per game the past 3 games is a little bit more encouraging. So give me McBride and Judy. All right. Dion, what's good, my man? He needs 2. Swift, Kamara, Pacheco.
Easy one, Dion, for me here. That's Swift and Kamara. Pacheco, you can sit him down. Been a little bit underwhelming recently, so I'll take those other 2.
I don't hate Pacheco as a flex in this matchup, but yeah, I'll go Swift and Kamara.
Yeah, man, it sucks because the volume says Swift, Kamara. But like we talked about with Joe, we know as soon as you get into the red zone, Swift is getting vultured by that brotherly shove. So that's why it's like this week I kind of want to lean Pacheco a little bit more because you do get a good matchup against the Raiders. But granted, since Pierce has taken over, they have not been as easy.
Max Crosby could be out though. Sounds like
Max
there's a real chance Crosby's out, and that's a difference maker.
Yeah,
that is a difference maker. Man, but it's hard to deny the volume Swift's getting. That's the problem. Is like they're just giving him 15 to 20 touches a game. Where Pacheco's, if he's gets 15, we're happy. So it's Swift and Kamara, but you can make an argument for Pacheco. Javonte Williams or Mixon this week?
That one's Joe Mixon for me. Tough matchup for Javonte against the Browns on paper, at least. I feel, Mike, we talked about it on Friday's show. Mixon going to get a lot of volume. At least he should this game. I know that we just got an update saying that Pickens is going to see more action and all this stuff. So, but we'll see. Give me Mixon.
Yeah, man. Yeah, flip a coin, honestly. This one's tough. I think I'll go Mixon too, but I don't feel great about either.
See, the thing is we expect Mixon to get that uptick in volume, Dylan, like we were talking about on Friday's show. But Javonte Williams has been actually getting that volume.
True.
So I kind of lean Javonte Williams a little bit more. I know the matchup's tougher, but the running backs against Cleveland have actually been pretty decent the past 2 weeks. I mean, we're talking about a top 15 finish the past 2 weeks for running backs against Cleveland. So it has been lightening up a little bit more. So I lean Javonte Williams slightly. But like JJ said, flip a coin because, I mean, Mixon is expected to get pretty much the same amount of volume as Javonte this week with Browning.
I changed my mind, man. You convinced me. Let's go Javonte here. I'll ride with you.
It's just he's actually getting the volume where we're just expecting Mixon to get the volume, and it's very likely he will get the volume.
And even if Mixon gets that volume, like who says there's not just going to be 8 guys in the box every single time? Like 8 up, 2 on Jamar, and then let anybody else beat us, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually. I like Mixon more for the dump offs this week. I mean, just if TJ Watt's getting to the QB, getting to Browning, like he's going to have a lot of dump offs to Mixon. Then that's where I think Mixon makes most of his hay this week. But yeah, give me Javonte. You still on Javonte, Dylan? Yeah. Or Mixon, Dylan?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Mixon still. I don't necessarily love either, with both game environments being pretty bad here, low scoring. But yeah, I'm still gonna lead Mixon.
All right, just not a lot of touchdown upside in either of those games.
Either, yeah, for sure.
Well, that's good, Gary. He needs to know. We need to pick 2 here for him. Puka Nacua, Hakuna Matata, Adam Thielen, Christian Kirk, or Cortland Sutton. I think
2 in the middle.
That was where I was
Thielen
leaning.
and Kirk. Yeah, Thielen, Kirk.
I was leaning Thielen, Kirk. But me personally, Gary, you can trust me, you cannot trust me, but I would be going Puka and man, it's the hard thing is like I could go Thielen, Kirk, and it's easy. But as soon as I throw Puka in there, it's like who do I choose between Thielen and Kirk?
Yeah.
Give me Thielen just because he's the only guy there. He's going to get the volume, so it's Puka and Thielen for me.
He's been steady, man. He's been super steady.
Yeah, give me Kirk and Thielen there still too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dion, Njoku or Pitts?
Njoku got like 15 targets last week.
That's Njoku. It absolutely is, unfortunately.
I'm all right with that. Me personally, I'm still riding Kyle Pitts.
Hey, let's go.
But yeah,
I get that. You got
it
Pitts.
just is what it is, yeah.
All right, so I do have a couple of updates here. Oh, come on. They disappeared on me. Zay Jones is active for week 6. Damian Pierce is not week 6. Week
I was
12.
like, wait, what?
Damian Pierce is active for week 12. Mac Jones is going to be the starter. Darius Slayton is active. Dylan, we talked about him on Friday. Yeah, he is listed as active. Sources
doubtful to active. You don't see that very often.
No, you don't. But that was interesting. This one's Njoku for me too, if I didn't already answer it. All right. And then Deanne wants to know Freiermuth or Cade Otton.
It's Cade Otton, man. Moose got to show me. He's not seeing a ton of volume right now.
Yeah,
that passing offense is much better for Tampa Bay, so I'm taking Otton.
You don't think there'll be any type of like kind of that boost that teams get when they fire a coach and they kind of come out and have just like that crazy good week right after? You don't think? I don't know, man. I feel like my gut kind of leans Pat, but I don't have any like statistics or film to back it up. Just pure gut call. I feel like Freiermuth kind of gets in the end zone today.
Yeah, I could get behind that logic. But I like to play it safe. And last 3 weeks, Otton has doubled Freiermuth's targets, so it's Cade Otton, and he has doubled the touchdowns too. So it is Cade Otton in that one, Dion. All right, and then Jose, thank you for joining us again, man. You know, if you got any more, get him going here. But he needs 2 running backs and a flex, full point PPR. He's got Barkley, Kamara, Swift, Mike Evans, and Devin Singletary. Let's start it off with the 2 RBs. Who you guys? I mean, I'll just make it easy for you. It's Barkley and Kamara, and for me, I know you guys probably want to work Swift in there, but he's going to be my flex.
I think that's
nah.
where you gotta go.
Yeah, I think
it's starting
Kamara's
off 3.
right.
It's starting all 3 running backs.
I don't know.
I
can't sit Mike Evans.
I say I'm torn between
Another
Evans
guy
and Kamara.
another guy that I'm riding the wave with is Mike Evans there. So
I think I'm benching Swift here. Yeah, Barkley, Kamara, Evans for me. Full PPR. Yeah.
I don't know, man. Swift is just getting so much more of a workload than Mike Evans. Yeah, Mike Evans is getting touchdown. He's actually probably having one of the better years of his career, but still, give me all 3 of the running backs.
I feel like I would be like,
Swift.
I feel like I'd be more likely to bench Barkley than Evans out of those 2, honestly. I mean, you take away like those 2 long rushing or receiving touchdowns last week, and Saquon has a pretty ugly day there. So you're even if he gets the guaranteed work, it's not guaranteed to be pretty with old Danny DeVito at quarterback. So yeah, I'll still go that way. But yeah, if you're going to bench one of them, I think I'm benching Barkley for Swift if you're wanting to work him in somewhere.
Man, it's hard to bench somebody who's getting 4 targets a game on top of his running workload. That's the thing,
know, man. They're just so bad. They're
you
hard to watch.
You look at whoever like the 2 people that get the most work out of these 5, and it's Barkley and Kamara. All right, they're easily going to get the most work. And then I get it, Mike Evans, being PP, but here's the thing: he's not a PPR receiver. He's a 6 catch for 120 yards and maybe a couple touchdowns type of receiver. So it's not like he's going to have a day where he gets like 8-9 receptions for you, and then really boost that floor. So I still look at all 3 of the running backs, and they have the highest floor and honestly the highest ceiling. DeAndre Swift scores 2 touchdowns. He scores more than Evans. Kamara gets 8 receptions and a touchdown. He scores more than Mike Evans. Barkley gets just 1 touchdown. I think he scores more than Evans.
Yeah,
like I know it's all touchdown based, but you're looking at.
I disagree about the ceiling thing. We saw Mike Evans score like 40 points last year at some point, and you talked earlier in the show about
51.
Stuff
in week
like
17.
You talked earlier about how
you
talked earlier about how Swift could be vultured by Jalen Hurts once he gets close near the goal line, which I can definitely see that. I just disagree with the ceiling. Mike Evans has a much higher ceiling.
See, but you're taking my argument about Swift. I get it, but it's a little out of proportion and a little extreme in my in my opinion, just because, yes, he will get vultured, but even so, he still has 2 touchdowns in the past 3 games. Like, Swift is still good enough to get a touchdown on his own. It's just when they're on the the 5-yard line, in the 5-yard line, that's when that brotherly shove comes into play. We saw Swift last week get a touchdown within the 10-yard line.
Definitely get a touchdown. I just disagree that I just think Mike Evans has a higher ceiling than DeAndre Swift.
I get it. You're lower on the running backs than me. I get it. Puka or Devontae Smith this week from Malcolm.
Who's Philly got?
Rams got the Cardinals and Eagles got the Bills.
I like Smith in a high-scoring game here.
Has there been a high-scoring game for the Eagles this year?
With no Dallas Goedert every time they play Washington.
Because there really hasn't, all the Eagles games, they've been winning by basically 1 possession. And it has not been high-scoring necessarily. But I do lean Devontae Smith. He's technically a little man. I still think I'm sticking with my guns, and I'm gonna go Puka on this one, Malcolm, because I don't think Cooper Kupp's as involved as everyone thinks he'll be.
I'll go Smith here, but yeah, it's close.
It's just, you can't call me a homer because I have both of these guys, and I actually have to make a decision like this. But I'm just playing both. Oh man, this is funny. Jamie said he's got to choose between Tommy DeVito.
Nice.
And Mac Jones.
It's DeVito. Mac Jones can get benched at any point in the game. So DeVito's not going to get benched.
He'll get benched for Barkley.
No matter how bad it is. So I think that's the reason you go DeVito.
Yeah. Mac Jones, there's probably some people out there playing Bailey Zappi this week, just in hopes he gets benched. Yeah. Malcolm's got another one here. He's got flex. Pick one. Rachaad White, Jerome Ford, Zay Flowers, Chris Godwin, James Cook, Jalen Warren, and Josh Downs.
Ooh, man, some good options there.
Ooh.
Everything points to Zay Flowers for me.
Yeah.
Super high on him without Mark Andrews, him operating in the middle of the field, the short intermediate stuff. Good matchup against the Chargers as well. And it's definitely not the safest play, but that's where I'm going to go. I would play Zay Flowers.
Yeah, I'm going to go Zay there too.
God,
all the reasons he said.
You guys love wide receivers, don't you, man? It's Rachaad White. It's Rachaad White for me. You get a matchup against the Colts, top 5 matchup against RBs. Rachaad White is active. Running backs just love to play the Colts, so it's Rachaad White. I still got to look it up to see if he is still one of the only running backs to pretty much only have 1 drop on the season out of 30-plus targets. It's insane. So it's Rachaad White for me. All right. Dean, what's up, Dean? He needs to know Amari Cooper, Marquise Brown, or Deontay Johnson. That one's Deontay Johnson for me.
Ooh, really? I feel like he's the third for me on this one. I'll go Hollywood here. I feel like this is the week that him and Kyler kind of get back on track together. Kyler's been putting up numbers. He's been playing pretty well, but for some reason it just hasn't quite translated for Hollywood yet. But I think this is the week they get back on track.
Yeah, I don't know here. I don't know what I would do. I would be waiting until last minute tinkering with this. If I'm being honest with you. Deontay Johnson, I guess.
It's a volume play. It's not a pretty play. It's a volume play, but so is Marquise Brown.
It hasn't been the last 2 weeks, though, has it? Hasn't he got 3 and 2 targets the last 2 weeks?
You're right. You're right. That's why I don't love any of these
Still the same
guys.
amount of targets as Marquise Brown the past 3 weeks, 17 and 17.
Yeah, all right.
Actually, no, I take that back. Deontay Johnson has 21 targets the past 3 weeks. That's 4 more than Marquise Brown, so it's even more.
What did he have? What did he have just the last 2 though? Because I feel like he had a big game, and then he's done nothing the last 2. Yeah.
Week 11, he had 8 targets. Week 10, he had. Where is it? Come on.
2 or 3.
4.
Is it right? 4. Okay.
But still, Deontay Johnson is the target guy. If they get Pickens and Warren more involved, then I guess that's going to go away from Johnson. But we just talked about how much of a target hog McBride is, and he's, outside of the fact, him and Marquise Brown and Kyler Murray need to shake off the rust a little bit for the most part. Marquise Brown is not catching a lot of his targets. He's only caught 7 of the 17 targets the past 3 weeks from Kyler Murray, where maybe we see an offensive switch there with Matt Canada being fired. Like I agree with you, JJ. I think there's a boost when you fire a coach like that.
I don't understand it. I don't know the science behind it, but it does seem like more times than not that's what happens. There's at least like a 1 or 2 week boost where, I mean, you saw it with the Raiders earlier this year. They looked like they wanted to be there actually for those first few weeks after.
They enjoyed it. Yeah. I'm sure Kenny Pickett enjoys it as well. So it's honestly all on him now.
Chris Boswell is enjoying it, I'm sure.
that clip was hilarious.
That video.
We won, not thanks to you.
You didn't have anything to do with it.
Man, you got to be like real shitty for a kicker to be like talking about you, man. Like that's crazy.
I know. Dion just wants to know, how about that Wolverines, man? He got me. I thought Ohio State was going to win.
I was in a sports bar yesterday when this was going on, just as a casual observer. I'm more of a North Carolina fan for college. But there was this lady in the bar that was like head to toe Michigan gear. And man, she was a riot to watch that like last like fourth quarter and down the stretch there, man. After she finishes up, she just like gets on the phone and you just hear her like ranting. And then I put like 3 minutes later, she hangs up. I'm like, oh shit, that was a voicemail. She just left somebody just talking. It was amazing.
That's great. The rivalry is strong. All right, on to the next. Gary wants to know, is he starting Kyron Williams, Tyler Boyd, Alexander Madison, or Jerry Jeudy?
I'm finally starting Kyron Williams here. Let's go.
I'm still starting Kyron Williams.
Yeah, I think Kyron, and then right behind that has got to be Madison, probably. Madison Boyd? I don't know.
It would be Madison.
Yeah, just start Kyron.
It would be Madison behind Kyron, but it's Kyron for me, Gary. And it seems like it's clean sweep. And we get our first kicker question. Matt Gay, Matt Prater, I believe. God, man, Greg Joseph or Young Wei Koo. I can't believe I knew all their first names.
It's Matt
I've
Gay.
been on record on this show saying that Young Ho Koo is like one of like 4 kickers that's actually a person, so I'll go him.
Matt Gay for me with no other analysis besides I have him in the one kicker league I play, and he's been a top 5 guy for most of the year, and I'm pretty sure he's ranked in the top 5 still. So that's where I'm going to go.
Actually, I do lean Gay with you as well, just because you're playing the Buccaneers, who are, it's like I said, tough team to run against. So you could pass on them, which if the Colts pass on them and they get in the red zone, decide to run the ball, maybe they get stuffed. There's some extra field goal attempts there possibly at play. So I actually lean Matt Gay in this one as well.
Yeah.
God,
knock on wood, probably jinxing them right now, knocking on some wood. I think Matt Gay's only missed like 1 field goal this year too, and it was a long one. So I think you were pretty solid option there. But like Jordan said, Young Wei Koo is never a bad option either. It seems like he's always.
Oh, apparently.
Ooh, yeah. Next comment. Yeah, that's a.
Apparently, Gary's was a 2-part question, I guess. So it was Kyron and Pacheco. He needs
Pacheco's your RB there, and then probably Kyron flex.
I'm all right going the 2 running backs there at that point. Yep.
Yeah, it's Pacheco and Kyron, Gary. Mm-hmm. And then Dean wants to know, we get an active Damian Pierce or Gus Edwards? That's Gus.
Gus Bus, baby.
Yep. Hit that horn on the bus. Gus it is.
Yep.
So many touchdowns since week 7. Just ride the wave. All right.
Mike wanted to add it. Nothing to do with Muth. Pickett just sucks.
Not wrong there,
as I said, it's all on Pickett. It's all on Pickett now. Like, you don't have Matt Canada as an excuse anymore.
Like that.
Malcolm, he's got Josh Allen, and he's got to pick up a bye week fill up for next week. Which one you getting? Minshew, Derek Carr, Desmond Ridder, Bryce Young, Pickett, or Will Levis? That one's Gardner.
I would need to check the schedules.
Let me check. Jordan.
I say, who they play. Who
if he gets Tennessee.
It doesn't
Saints
matter.
Have Lions. Saints have the Lions.
Gardner hasn't been great either lately, though. I feel like.
Nope.
Tennessee's a good matchup.
Who's Atlanta got?
Atlanta has.
I at least like the weapons there.
Jets.
Ooh, no. Avoid Ritter. Yeah, I guess Gardner. What about? Oh shit, man! I don't like any of these options. Maybe pick up Pickett just in case he does look better in this first game without Matt Canada, and just throw him on your bench just in case. But yeah, I mean,
Bucks. But
I don't love any of these. I guess Gardner. I don't know, man. I guess Gardner. I'd go Pickett and just hope he looks better this week, and then maybe you can get by a week. But
I mean, yeah, if Pickett's gonna get better, but I mean, I kind of agree with Mike. Pickett sucks. But yeah, that one I think is Minshew. Would you rather play Jordan Addison or Jamar Chase this week? Both playing in the rain with a backup QB.
I'm still going Chase here, man. Start your studs in this one.
Since it's the first week without Joe Burrow, I still expect Chase to get peppered with more targets than Addison. It's probably going to be a lower receiving yard total than Addison, most likely. But I still lean Chase just because, I mean, he could get 6 to 7 receptions, maybe for only like 60 yards, but maybe he squeaks in a touchdown.
I got Chase as well. Not an easy matchup for Addison either. He's going to be with Jalen Johnson most of the game, I would assume.
Joshua Dobbs likes to run the ball, so that takes away from Addison as well.
I feel like I've like kind of made this comp before, but it's like whenever you're looking at a receiver like this, like we've had a season-long example of like, are you going to bench Garrett Wilson for Jordan Addison? Because I mean, it's very similar situations, but Jamar
with Tim Boyle at QB, yes.
I mean, he had like 70 yards and a touchdown last week, though. He still had a good week.
Points on Thursday.
So, I mean, I think you're going to see Chase have a floor like that no matter who's in there, and then he's still got that upside to go for big weeks. So, yeah, don't overthink it. Start your studs here. Go Jamar Chase.
I just find it hilarious. You know, Jets fans are like, can we get anybody better than Zach Wilson? And they got the one person probably worse.
Yeah, man.
When you ask, you shall receive.
Absolutely smash the over the 1.5 interceptions for Tim Boyle this week on Friday. It was fantastic.
And then Jeff wants to know here, Jerome Ford or Stevenson, and it's Jerome Ford.
I'm gonna lean Ramondre Stevenson. Actually,
that's because you have Ramondre Stevenson.
I don't think so, man.
Still believing in him.
Who's more involved, Mike Kareem Hunter or Ezekiel Elliott in these two offenses?
I mean, without looking,
it's Kareem Hunt. He just answered. He's vulturing everything around the goal line from Jerome Ford right now. Stevenson saw 20 plus touches last week, so I think that was pretty simple for me. And
Jerome Ford still saw 18 touches last week against Baltimore, a tough run defense, and got 107 yards and no touchdown. So good against a bad matchup. So that's where I lean Jerome Ford in this one. Yeah, I know Kareem Hunt's taken away, some of that volume, but that's because you have DTR at quarterback.
I'll go Ford, but yeah, it's close. They're same tier, I would say. We're pretty close too.
Richard, full point PPR, Cooper Kupp or Adam Thielen?
I'll go Thielen this week.
Still gonna be.
I'm kind of with Mike. That ankle kind of has me a little worried there. It does kind of seem like the Rams, like I've said this for a few weeks now, but it seems like they're just kind of like one more bad injury from this season, just imploding and then just shutting it down. And I'll go Thielen here.
I mean, we saw it last year when Kupp got injured. They shut it down and it was just bad. So maybe they're just trying to not shut it down so early because they're still in kind of playoff contention because the NFC is just that bad.
I mean, that win last week definitely like gives them a little bit more hope staying alive. They beat the Seahawks last week, right? I'm not mixing that up.
The Rams, they played the Seahawks last week, and the Rams did win. But that one's sealing for me as well. Malcolm wants to know Gabe Davis or Khalil Shakur.
This is where we're at with Gabe Dave here, huh?
This is tough, man.
Khalil Shakur, I think, unfortunately.
Okay, you got to give my BSU guy some love, baby. Go Khalil.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the way Joe Brady used Khalil Shakur last week. He got 4 targets, but I mean, he's explosive. Gabe Davis got 0 targets last week, so we're gonna take the guy who's more involved in the offense.
Hey, real quick, Malcolm, if you're listening to this, can you post in the comments on your IDP question how many points per game Landon and Blake Cashman are averaging on that one? Because I can give you an answer. I just want to know the scoring on that one.
And then appreciate you, Chris, Detroit Beastie, watching
See you in 10 minutes, man.
Absolutely. He was just saying, oh boy, this DFS show is about to be wild. And I believe it. Are you guys going to have a third person up there, Mr. Keith Fleming, with you? Let me know. Let us know in the comments, Chris. Cody needs to know Keaton Mitchell or Devin Singletary.
That's really close.
Hey, that's my buddy. That's my buddy, Cody.
Hey, what's up, Cody? Nice of you to join us, man. Singletary does have to deal with Dameon Pierce being back, but Keaton Mitchell has to deal with Gus Bus stealing all the touchdowns. So I don't. Keaton Mitchell hasn't been involved enough. He's going to be a great stash player.
Got involved a little bit more last week. I think he's close to 10 touches, but I think the touches are still going to lean Devin Singletary this week, even with Pierce back. So I think it's still Devin Singletary.
I'll go Singletary here. With Keaton Mitchell, you're basically just hoping he houses one. Is basically what you're hoping. He gets a little bit of he takes one of those touches in, which that's always tough to bet on. So I would say if it's one of those you need like a guarantee 10 points, I'm going Singletary. But if you're down by 30, 40 points and you need to swing for the defense, probably go Keaton here and just hope he
I could get that. Yeah, because 10 touches is enough to house one. It's just it's more unlikely. I mean, you're at this rate, you're more likely to get 2 touchdowns from Gus Bus than Keaton Mitchell busting one out. So yeah, give me Devin Singletary here. It is close, but Dameon Pierce, if he shows any sign of getting banged up again, it's Singletary's backfield again.
Yeah.
All right. First defensive question: Tennessee or Buffalo? Tennessee.
I think Tennessee, right, against Carolina.
Yeah.
And then
I think
Buffalo against the Eagles. Yeah, that one is. It's Tennessee. Man, I'm hoping that game's a shootout, but none of these games.
Earthquake.
None of these games are shootouts with the Eagles. So give me Tennessee. And then Chris said both Ford and Stevenson and DFS at least. So, oh man, Malcolm, we will try.
And my gut on this one, without knowing like the stats, like I was saying, I've been riding Cashman as like kind of one of my deep IDP flexes all season long, and he's been pretty steady. So I just kind of need to know the scoring if Landon Roberts is kind of similar where they're at, but my gut says probably go Cashman. Feel good about him having a chance for 8 to 10 tackles.
And I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at. And IDP is what I'm not good at. So believe JJ.
Edited an article.
Okay, here we go. So Cashman averages 8. So a little bit lower scoring IDP league then. Okay.
Still, so I'm going to guess
I'm going to probably guess Cashman then. Yeah. Unless it's like a big play league where Roberts is getting,
And just by 2 cents, I added an article earlier this week and was reading.
Yeah, Roberts 6.5. Yeah,
Cashman was the top waiver guy for that section or whatever it was. So my 2 cents is Cashman as well.
Yeah.
All right. Don't believe any of the stats I have, but it's Cashman as well. I don't have any stats for IDP. That's the one thing I'm just not that great at, guys. And then Chris did say it's just him and Dave. Keith is always welcome. You hear that, Keith? If you're listening, you are welcome. All right, Dylan, nice of you to join us again for another week, my man.
Hey.
It's up. Not you, Dylan. A few start sits all around the board. He needs 1 flex. He needs 1 wide receiver and 1 running back, and he was nice enough to group it already for us. So let's go with the flex. Let's go with the running back and the wide receiver first here. That way we got more options at flex. Running back first, you got Jerome Ford, Devin Singletary, or James Conner.
I'll go Ford, but I feel like you guys are probably going to go Conner, but I'll go Ford.
I am going to go Conner, yep.
I feel like I'm always like the hater on Conner on this show. I don't know why.
He's gross, man, kind of.
It's the answer is Conner for the running back. Only because of like what Dylan said, Kareem Hunt eats into Ford's volume a little bit there, where James Conner doesn't have anybody eating into that volume.
2 first names too.
How dare you? There's Amari DiMarcado there behind him. What are you talking about? No one there.
Dr. Mercado.
Jamie can get on me for that because of Dr. Mercado, but it's James Conner all day. All right, and then the wide receiver here, we got to pick one between DJ Moore and Calvin Ridley, and that one's DJ Moore.
Yeah.
All right, and now we got our flex options here between Hollywood Brown, Josh Downs, Kareem Hunt, James Cook, Calvin Ridley, Jerome Ford, and Devin Singletary.
James Cook? Yes.
Yes.
That's a tough matchup against Philly, though. That's a tough matchup for. Yeah. I'll still go Cook, but that's a tough one.
I'm going Ford. Ford over Cook. All right. Joe. All right, on to the next. Well, actually, I think we have one more here. Odell, Amari Cooper, Ty Chandler, or Keaton Mitchell was the last one between those options.
Give me Odell.
Sorry, what was that one? I missed that one.
Last one was Odell, Amari Cooper, Ty Chandler, or Keaton Mitchell. It's between Odell and Amari Cooper.
I'll go Coop on that one.
Ah, man, I lean Coop as well, but you can get away with Odell, I guess. And then he's got Denver defense, Browns defense, Titans defense, or Carolina's defense. Denver against Browns, Browns against Denver, Titans against who the hell are Titans against?
Still kind of want to go Browns here.
I'm going Titans against Carolina.
Titans against Carolina. Yep. You get Bryce Young. He's been a turnover machine so far this year.
I hear that, but once again, they just stink. Their defense isn't great either. That's why I think I'm just going to lean the good defense here.
Carolina's O-line is not great either. Bryce Young keeps getting sacked. So, you're looking for sacks. You're looking for picks. I think Titans defense gives you the highest floor. Not the highest ceiling, but the highest floor. And then he's got a kicker question. Cameron Dicker, the kicker, versus Baltimore at home, or Greg Joseph versus Chicago at home inside? I know that affects Dylan's answer.
It's Dicker the kicker for me still. I just feel like Greg Joseph misses too many kicks. I don't have any stats to back that up, but every time I feel like I see him on red zone, he's missing. So that's why I'm going to go Dicker there.
Dicker the kicker does qualify as a real person, so we'll go him. Yeah. He's on that list.
He qualifies as a real person. Oh, wow. Greg Joseph has missed 5 field goals on the year.
That's right. All right.
26 to 28 for extra points as well. So, yeah, give me Cameron Dicker on that one. It does seem like Greg Joseph is missing more. What's up, Bryce? Nice for you to join us, man. If you got any more questions, you got about 4 minutes to get them in. Full point PPR, take 2. Devontae Adams, Adam Thielen, Dalton Schultz, or Christian Kirk.
Let's talk about this for a second, guys. Does Zay Jones is active, and we haven't touched on that yet? Does that take away from Christian Kirk at all? Does that make him?
I think that hurts Ridley more, right? Because I don't know if Zay Jones really affects Kirk out of the slot as much as it affects Ridley on the outside.
That's the argument, is because Kirk's going to be riding the slot for the most part.
And it's a good slot matchup, like I said as well earlier. So I think I'd still lean Christian Kirk in there.
I actually lean Adams and Thielen.
I'm going Adams Thielen here.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm with you. Yeah,
you could make an argument for Kirk over Thielen.
Over Thielen, yeah. I think Adams. I'm locking Adams in. It's Thielen or Kirk for me. It's kind of that second one, and I'll go Thielen still. But I can definitely see why you'd go Kirk in this one with that matchup.
Yeah, it's just Devontae Adams is just going to get the majority of the targets, and then Thielen's going to get majority of the targets there as well.
Yeah.
It's Thielen and Adams, man, but it's not going to be fun because you are just playing the safe options.
If your gut play says go Adams and Kirk, trust it too. Because it's close enough on those two for me that I would say trust your gut. You don't want to be mad that you thought one thing, you listened to us, and that guy on your bench went off. So if you feel like you have a gut call one way on that one, trust it on that one. It's close. Yeah,
Dylan, are you still going Kirk?
No, I said you guys are right. You talked me into Adams and Thielen.
All right. And then it looks like our last live one here for the day. Puka or Michael Pittman Jr.?
Pittman, baby.
Yeah, this one's Pittman. As much as a Puka believer I am, Pittman's just getting more targets, 33 in the past 3 games.
Jordan, let me hit you with the dynasty question real quick, trade question.
What do we got?
Got 2 minutes.
7-4 team. I'm going for it because I want to go for it. Running back position's brutal. Best guy, Kareem Hunt, Jabal Williams, Samaje Perine. I have an offer on the table. I would get Tony Pollard, but I would have to send my 2024 first and 2024 third. You pulling the trigger on that?
Oh, man.
I feel like it's a lot, but I also have Dak and I also have CeeDee Lamb on the roster as well.
Are you trying to get Pollard for Mike in that one league?
No,
man, I don't know, man. I'm nervous about giving up first in this next year's class for Tony Pollard. He's looked more explosive these last 2 weeks. It's funny you say this. So, I have Joe coming on my Dynasty show tomorrow, and we're doing a trade show. And one of the trades that is on there is Pollard straight up for 2024 first. So I would say it's in the area of what I would consider fair. So if you're going for it, it's probably fair. I would see if I could drop it down to just that first round pick and just sell it as hey, this class next year, you got, three stud quarterbacks at least. There's a bunch of receivers coming out. You can probably get a guy like Travion Henderson towards the end of the first round. So if you're going for it, I would say, yeah, you can make it. You may be able to get someone a little more consistent with that first rounder. But yeah, I would say it's fair. I would feel better about it if I could cut it down to just the first though.
Right.
But yeah, man, he hasn't looked awesome, but the last few weeks he's been more explosive for sure. So.
And I did get Ian Rappaport came out, basically said Kyron Williams, sources say, will be the lead back. I mean, we already knew that, but it's nice to get confirmation.
We got to get out of here before we get yelled at.
Hey, yeah, I don't want the DFS guys coming after me again, you know.
They make the money, man. They can send their hitmen at us. But Dylan, let everybody know where they can find you before you head on out here.
Yeah, guys, Twitter handles underneath my big head. You can check out my waiver wire article over at fantasysixpack.net, and I also do the waiver wire video on the YouTube channel, so make sure you check it out. And then just the game preview show every Friday. Check it out there.
How about you, JJ?
Like I said, tomorrow on our Dynasty show, we got Joe coming on here. We're going to be talking about some Dynasty trades. I run a lot of Dynasty leagues, and so this trade deadline leading up to it these last few weeks has been pretty intense. So we got, I think, 16 trades on there I had to cut it down to. So we'll have that coming out tomorrow afternoon. Like always, I'll have my Monday recap coming out first thing in the morning tomorrow. And then next week, catch me here on Sunday.
Sweet. Love to hear it, guys. And if you want any more, inside info from them, make sure you go to fantasysixpack.com/net/plans.
.com.net.
That's my. I fucked that one up. That's on me. But peace out, guys. Good luck in your Week 12 matchups.
See you guys.
Peace. All right, and now it's time to make some money with the DFS Daddies. Time to bring on Mr. Dave Eddy and Chris Robin. Take it on over and win some people some money, guys.
Win some money. Is that what we're here for, Chris?
I think so, and we've done one heck of a job so far this year. And you're me, I'm Keith. You're
we're
Keith
all
now I'm Dave, and you're Chris. Regardless of what the overlay looks like, good afternoon. It's a minute after 12. Good afternoon. Hopefully, we've all had good mornings. We've had a good Thanksgiving and a little hangover, not in an alcoholic sense, but just that there is a hangover that kind of happens, right? The day after is Black Friday. The game was on at 3:00. There was hockey on early yesterday too. So there's been a lot going on, but now as it stands, we can focus on week 12 of the main slate, which is only 10 games. And I've mentioned it all week in my writing and broadcasting. It kind of opens things up for us a bit where in cash games, and I'm sure you'll get to it in cash games, it is you're dead set on a few guys, but in GPP purposes on my side, there is a lot to like, and there's going to be some weird and strange ideas and a few risks I'm willing to take this week because of we had Thanksgiving, and if you want a couple bucks, it's like week 12 today. It's kind of like house's money, and that's how I'm treating today. And we're going to get into it, Dave. So anything you want to mention, or you just want to get right into some quarterbacks, my friend?
I do want to. Well, I've got to get to inactives.
Correct. Yes.
But I do want to notice. Do you notice anything over here? We have Calvin Johnson has been put away temporarily and replaced
by the Tom Brady jersey. Yes, and now that I said I wasn't going to talk a lot. I just can't help it. But briefly, if you'll give me 2 minutes, Michigan did beat Ohio yesterday, right? And it's good, right? That's 3 in a row. And yes, there is a rivalry. To me, I find that to be one of the best rivalries in all of sports, a lot of college football, whatever. But I can't. It's shocking to me how many grown men, Ohio fans, grown men on the internet and social media are so rude and mean. And just like how could you tell someone to bend over and F your mom or your grand? It's just a college football game. It's okay. We got next year. I mean, it's not that serious. So to me, it's like, we get yelled at for being, we stick to, most winningest program in football, but we haven't done anything in 100 years, while Ohio State says stay classy, but yet after they lose, they completely fall apart. So that was a great win by Michigan, and we'll see what lies ahead. Dave, you're talking on mute. You owe like 17 cases of beer to a ton of people, always talking on mute.
I know I don't usually do it, but ever since I got sick, 6 weeks ago or so, I have this weird cough now that just is like persistent. So I've gotten in the habit now of muting myself whenever I go to cough, and I'm not used to doing it. But anyways,
Which is kind, and it shows that you do have manners. I didn't think you did, but you obviously you do. You have a little mute
on Sundays,
a mute cough button, so that's great.
Yeah, yep. So not a lot here as far as inactives are concerned. Nothing too major. I'm going to kind of skip around a little bit because there's only a few, but nothing that's new and surprising here. I mean, Hayden Hurst is out, same thing as last week. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Tommy Tremble ended up scoring a touchdown. That was the guy that whenever Hurst was out, that we had both made mention of, specifically you, when you got to your bottom of the barrel plays. So I guess that could be a way to go again this week if you were so inclined. T. Higgins is out, no big surprise there. But with a backup quarterback, I don't know, how much it really matters. Dameon Pierce is active, so no longer is it the Devin Singletary show. I don't know how that backfield's gonna, look, but that's something that I am avoiding this week. Noah Brown, same thing. He's out again, so you can fire up your Tank Dell. I know I have him locked in cash. Zay Jones is active. He played last week, so there's no real reason to think he wouldn't play again this week. Nonetheless, I still am just as on Christian Kirk for cash as I was prior to that. Let's see. Rashad White is active. That sounded like an interesting situation where, what was it, late in the week, like yesterday, they kind of marked him as questionable, and then 5, 6, 7, 8 hours later, they're like, oh no, he's fine. Seems like it was quote unquote in abundance of caution that that they put him on there, but whatever. Afternoon window, Michael Wilson is out. So that kind of puts us in the same situation with those Arizona pass catchers that we had last week. So big bump for McBride. Maybe we get some Greg Dortch again as well. Kadarius Toney's out. McKinnon's out. We already knew about that. I know you guys talked about that on Friday. That makes me like Isaac Pacheco even more, which is part of the reason why he's in my cash lineup. Kyron Williams has been activated. No big surprise there. I know they waited until I think it was yesterday to officially take him off IR, but he'd been practicing all week. And then Dallas Goedert's out. I think if it wasn't for, the rain that I think we're seeing in Philadelphia today, I would have been more in on that game. But for leverage purposes, that's a game for MME that I am off now, Chris. But anything, and there's
to be fair, when it comes to the tight end situation in Philadelphia, there was a single game slate I covered. It was the Monday Night Football game. It was Kansas City and Philadelphia. And when I go over a single game slate, everybody's seen my notes. I go over practice squad players, got everything.
Water boy comparisons.
And Jack Stoll was, I thought maybe he could be something. He'd get a handful, half a dozen targets, and he did not at all. He got 1, maybe 2 targets, if I'm not mistaken. So with Dallas Goedert out, no other tight end in that offense is viable. You're just going to have to bump up, let's say, Olamide a little bit, or give another target or touch to Devonta, and AJ Brown is going to get his. So in terms of the Philadelphia Eagles, with Goddard out, there is no other viable tight end in my book to be played. So that's it. That's all I got.
All right, well, let's move into things. This is, a different week. We had the Thanksgiving slate, so I had focused my early attention in the week on that. Once that was completed, then I put my attention into here. So I don't have the same typical notes that I normally have. So this is 95% going to be just talking off the top of my head, Chris. So this should go relatively quick for me. My cash guy, it was early in the week. It was Josh Allen. I thought Josh Allen against that Philadelphia defense just seemed like a really great play. And then as the week progressed a little bit, now granted, I started doing this like Thursday night. But then as the week progressed, I got to thinking that I actually rather pay a little bit more for Jalen Hurts. It's a lot safer. Maybe the ceiling isn't quite as high, but I don't really care about ceiling. So it was Jalen Hurts. The whole time, as I'm building lineups, Trevor Lawrence lineups are what end up being the most well-rounded, the lineups that I thought that I felt the best about. So as it had gone on, I went from Jalen Hurts last night and I moved it to Trevor Lawrence this morning. Playing Houston there, I think we're going to see a whole lot of points. He's got a whole bunch of weapons, throw the ball to. I think Zay Jones being back, helps that offense as a whole. And so I mean, Trevor Lawrence, the savings there allowed me to do some things in other places. I have what I think is going to be a very unique cash lineup this week, and we'll get to that a little bit later when we get to some other positions. But move to Lawrence there. As far as MME for quarterbacks, I'm rolling out Lawrence. I'm rolling out a Stafford double stack with Puka and Cup, and I've got a Minshew double stack as well with Downs and Pittman. But maybe we'll get a little more into that as we move on.
Yeah, and that's all wonderful. And I'm always open and honest. And if I'm a little laggy here, there are a few things I can do, like plug in my little Wi-Fi booster. I was so amped up to start the broadcast. I always do plug it in. I'm hard lined in, and it's like a little box, and you plug it into the wall. But I think we'll be okay. I turned off all the Wi-Fi around me, other than the computer and the box that are upstairs. So if it gets too bad, I can split and come back. It'll only take me a minute. When we look at quarterbacks here for today, you had talked about, that Gardner Minshew stack. That is a wonderful idea. That's something I'm doing in a few lineups when it comes to GPPs. But I want to talk about Matthew Stafford, and the Rams go to Arizona. Arizona's 26th overall. And again, we always talk about the same kind of collection of guys to a certain extent, on the Thursday show or the Friday show, right? And this is what we hand into the teacher. That analogy is outstanding, and I will always dig that. But when you look at Stafford here going against the Arizona Cardinals, there's just something about him later in the season, and as the Los Angeles Rams aren't necessarily like in the playoff picture, they are still just a little bit within the hunt, right? They'd have to go on a massive run, like a historic run, just to get in. But I think Matthew Stafford, now that he's got Cooper Kupp back, who has no injury designation this week, he's got Puka, who is back without an injury designation this week. He has a full complement. He has his full offense, right? In terms of skill position players, Kyron Williams, right? The only thing I fear about Kyron, and we could talk about that, or you can talk about that when you get to, cash game stuff, because he is $8,200, something like that on FanDuel. Matthew Stafford is going to be able to be that maestro that we all know him to be, right? As the quarterback, just to get on the field and go through all his reads and progressions and find the best one. I absolutely love Stafford today, to throw 2 to 3 touchdown passes. If Stafford can get over that hump and get to 3 touchdown passes, he's got a chance to be in that top 5 overall DFS quarterbacks for week 12 when it comes to that. And again, we have Hurts and Josh Allen there. They all play later at the 4 p.m. and later games here. But Matthew Stafford, to me, I love that. Derek Carr, he was questionable. I didn't hear you say that he's going to be, inactive this week, and
he's good.
He's good to go, right? He had the concussion. They had the bye week. Winston came in, had his 2 for 2, 2 touchdown, 2 interceptions kind of thing. But when you look at Derek Carr, we talked about it with Keith on the show. They're playing Atlanta. Atlanta's Keith's favorite team. And Derek Carr, 6'8" on FanDuel, 5'8" on DraftKings, $24, on Yahoo here. Derek Carr also has a chance. I'm not saying Derek Carr can anybody can get to 300 yards, but I'm safe in that 240 to 250 passing yards, for Derek Carr. And he has, Rashid Tlaib and not Tlaib, Rashid Shaheed. That's his name. I'm talking about an old school basketball player here, but he has him and Chris Olave, which is going to be absolutely dominant. And let's not forget about Taysom Hill and Juwan Johnson. So to me, Derek Carr at the 1 p.m. games, at least, is someone we need to at least pay attention to. I'll skip past Baker. I'll skip past Gardner Minshew because you talked about him so nicely. And last but not least, Tommy DeVito, this young kid. The Giants are playing New England. In New England, on paper, the DVP says they're 10th overall against opposing quarterbacks. Tommy DeVito has gone for multiple touchdown passes in his last, his last 3 games, right? He started 4. In his first game, he had 1, and it's gone on 1 and 3. So this week, it's only fair that he throws for 4, right? If you follow my weird, stupid thought process here, he went 1, 2, 3. And so this week would be crazy to throw 4 touchdown passes. But Tommy DeVito, to me, is in play. The Giants are playing New England 6-6 on FanDuel, 5-2 on DK. He's a rookie. And again, given how there's 10 games on this slate and everybody's been home, everybody's just been, all in on quarterbacks and just playing DFS here. Tommy DeVito is someone I think I'm going to have more exposure to than I should, but the New England dynasty is crumbling right before our very eyes. So give me all the Danny DeVito I can handle, Dave. When we look at running backs,
hold on. Let's move over here real quick. I want to get to Larry's question. Because it's involving, a Minshew stack. And so he's asking for MME purposes, is a Pittman and Jonathan Taylor stack viable? And, from my perspective, I will answer the question. I will say, yes, it is. In MME, especially large field, you can do just about whatever you want. Yeah. I personally think that Jonathan Taylor is extraordinarily overvalued this week. For what I'm seeing, we're looking at maybe like 30% plus ownership this week. And, I get that there should be a lot of volume there this week, but this matchup against Tampa Bay is real tough. And I think that, even though I am the volume, over matchup guy, I think that at this ownership, I have very little interest in Jonathan Taylor. I had Taylor initially in my cash builds, and I knew it was a little bit risky, but I thought that the price for the volume was solid. But I just now, I once I saw the ownership, he was completely off of me for MME. I think that this is going to be an example of a bad chalk situation. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, yes, and no. And to be fair with you, I have JT around 20 carries, 86 to 90 yards, 4.3 yards a pop, a touchdown on the ground, and another 3, maybe 4 receptions for about 20 yards. So you're looking around, like maybe 110 all-purpose yards and a touchdown. That's a good day any way you slice it. But when you look at ownership percentages, 30+% is a little bit too much for me for a running back, nor under any other normal certain circumstances, Jonathan Taylor would be the best running back on the slate. That has changed over time because of some injuries, some issues with the coaches, and he don't want to bet. Who knows what's going on here? But to me, Jonathan Taylor against this Tampa Bay front is tough sledding, right? They're third overall against defending opposing running backs. But when you look at the idea of Minshew, Pittman, and Alec Pierce, that's the move I would make, especially in a GPP. I would leave Jonathan Taylor out of it if you're playing in like one of those massive GPPs. And to me, it would be Minshew, Pittman, and even Josh Downs. That would probably be my favorite trio. And you can run it, you can run that same trio and just swap in and out and add in Pierce wherever you seem fit. So to me, it's more about, the Downs and Pittman to pair with Gardner Minshew. Well, I'm not going to talk running back. I'm just going to give you the most expensive guy and then toss it to you because when we broadcast with Keith, he is an unbelievable host. He makes it, I don't think I've ever told him this. Keith makes it so easy to be on a live broadcast. It's unbelievable. So I'm going to try and channel Keith here. When you look at, the most expensive running back this week, it's Alvin Kamara. Saints go to Atlanta. Atlanta on paper, second overall against opposing running backs, but Alvin 8-7 on FanDuel, 8-4 on DK, $28 on Yahoo. Where is your head in terms of some cash game running backs, Dave?
For me, I don't think that the running backs this week were very good. I think it was a pretty poor running back slate, and my cash lineup ends up reflecting it. Two guys that I am playing this week, I'm playing Rachaad White. I'm playing Isaac Pacheco. Rachaad White, we got that little bit of a scare, yesterday where all of a sudden he, was questionable, and anytime someone hits the injury report late in the week, that to me is a humongous red flag. But almost as quick as he was, on, he was right back off. And so everything that I've read this morning says he's a full go. if anything, I guess I hope that maybe that gets people off of him a little bit. Maybe people, I don't know how they would miss the news, but maybe they just don't trust it. Not sure, but I'm still in there. Pacheco, he hasn't been good lately. Let me go over here and take a look. I think he's gotten like under 10 points 2 weeks in a row. Well, no, not quite. He got 10.1 last week, so it'd be 3 weeks in a row. But he's had solid volume. He's at 16 carries, 19 carries the last 2 weeks. I know you were talking about with McKinnon out, we expect maybe he'll get a little bit more involved in the passing game. You know, he's had 1 catch in the last 2 weeks, so he can't get less involved. But I think that, you know, with how popular the Chiefs defense is, you know, even in MME, I think if you want to play the Chiefs defense, maybe the best thing you can do is also pair it with Pacheco. Not that he's going to be super low owned, and I don't think that that's a way to get you unique necessarily, but it does correlate your lineup. And, you know, odds are less people are going to play the Chiefs with Pacheco than they are with him. So, you know, it helps. Other guys that I was interested in, I think Jaylen Warren is a really good play this week. He's a little risky for cash because, you know, that backfield is so split, but he's the most explosive player in that backfield. And if I had to pick one, it's definitely Jaylen Warren this week. I've got to mix in some MME. I just couldn't do it for cash. It just didn't work out. I think Ramondre Stevenson's a great play again, MME and cash this week. I like pairing him with that popular Patriots defense as well. Kind of the same exact thing that I said about Pacheco and the Chiefs. I would say the same thing about Stevenson and the Patriots. Travis Etienne, you know, that game, it could well shoot out. A lot of people are going to be on the passing game on both sides, rightfully so. So I think that makes Etienne a guy who is probably going to go under-owned, and he can either be, you know, part of that game stack, or he can just be, you know, a one-off play if you want to just have only that access to the game if you think it underwhelms a little bit. And then Derrick Henry. I think he makes for a really interesting MME play. I don't know what he's going to do this week. I mean, I know Tajay Spears gets a lot of, you know, hype now, but if you go back and look at Tajay Spears, he's not getting a ton of carries. So if Tajay Spears even had 10 carries today, I'd be pretty surprised. I wouldn't be shocked if Derrick Henry gets 25 carries, you know, 25 carries, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns. It's in the cards. I don't know if that's what's going to happen. If I thought that was going to happen, obviously he'd be in my cash lineup and I'd have him all over MME, but the potential is there. This could be, you know, the one massive Derrick Henry game of the season. You know, his ownership scares me a little bit, which is why I'm not more on him in MME. He was still looking to be around the 15% mark, which, you know, a year or two ago in this situation, Derrick Henry is probably close to like 40%, but, you know, the 15 was a little bit more than I like, Chris.
Yeah, and that you know, that's fair enough. When I look at where I'm going, and I'll be fair when I say this, you know, it's, you have to, you know, from a broadcasting standpoint, and obviously folks are watching us, you know, from the 1 o'clock to the 4 o'clock games. There's just I cannot peel myself away from the 4 o'clock only game. So forgive me if I speak from the 4 p.m. games, and I'm not completely fading 1 o'clock, but in a way, you know, people always talk about that in basketball or hockey. You need that late game hammer, right? Everybody stacks up, you know, the main slate covers 1 p.m. and all the games from start to finish. But to me, all the action starts at 4:05. The Rams are at Arizona, Cleveland, Denver, KC, Vegas, Buffalo, Philadelphia, where the 1 p.m. games are a little underwhelming. And there's a lot to be plucked from those 1 p.m. games. Jacksonville, Houston, I absolutely love that one. But I'm going to start and probably mention a few running backs from mainly the 4 p.m. games. And I think that is okay, because as people start to build their lineups, you know, you think, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, who knows? As far as I'm concerned, you know, you look at what everybody always wants to get on the 1 p.m. games, and they forget about the later games. They want all their action, you know, up front. But to me, Ramondre Stevenson is just screaming my name in this one, right? As I said, New England plays the Giants. Giants are 26th overall against opposing running backs. And Ramondre Stevenson has been, he's just a wrecking ball in a way, right? Last week, I think they had a bye week last week. So last time out, he set season highs in both carries and yardage, 20 carries, 88 yards. He didn't finish with a ton of points, but it's that volume that we're after. And if he can get that volume against a Giants team that is realistically going nowhere, they're done for the year, in a certain perspective here. I have Ramondre Stevenson, 14, 15 carries. I would even be comfortable giving Stevenson 16 to 17 carries, 75 to 80 yards, a touchdown on the ground, around 3 to 4 receptions for another 30 yards. And again, given his price tag, given his ownership percentage, given the fact that he's playing in a game against that with there's no implications whatsoever for the playoffs, for wild cards, nothing. It's just a kind of a game. The Patriots and the Giants. Over under is at a lowly 35.5 points, which even furthers my point. It's just going to be a low and slow kind of ground game, right? With Tommy DeVito kind of binking and dinking and dunking where we need it to be. As we move down the list,
let me give you a stat real quick about Stevenson, because as you know, on my Twitter, I like to post threads early in the week, and one thing that really stood out to me was Ramondre Stevenson stat. And so over the last 6 weeks, I listed the top 8 running backs in targets per game. And Ramondre Stevenson sitting there 5th at 5.4 targets a game, literally directly behind CMC at 5.6 and Austin Eckler at 5.5. And you think of CMC and Eckler, and you think of guys that really dominated in the passing game. And here in the 6-week sample size, Stevenson right on par with them. So that also makes me like him a lot more this week. So I had to throw that in there for him.
No, it's wonderful. And when you look at DVP, the Giants are 25th against running backs. But if a running back is going to be running routes and catching passes, you could then say he's a wide receiver. And the Giants are even worse. The Giants are 28th against opposing running backs. So Ramondre Stevenson is in a lot of my lineups. And I don't care that I have 90% ownership to Stevenson, because the work is going to be there. There's no way around that. Second would be Jerome Ford. Cleveland is playing at Denver. And again, this is a game where nobody might not even really care about. It's at 4:05. It's in Denver, Mile High. It's basically a pick 'em, right? Cleveland's getting a 1.5. To me, in the betting world, that's a pick 'em, right? Well, my +1, -1 is more of a pick 'em. A half more points not going to change that for me. And Denver, dead last. I love this joke when I can use it. Last time I checked, there's only 32 teams in the league, right? And Denver is dead last, 32nd against opposing running backs. And without Nick Chubb, right, Jerome Ford is going to see a ton of work. And before I get ahead of myself, I also love Kareem Hunt as well. I think that would have no issue. I've already locked and loaded. I always put my money where my mouth is, and I would never ask anybody to do anything I wouldn't do myself. So I've already have a half dozen lineups with Ford and with Kareem Hunt in that both RB spots, and Jerome Ford 6-7 on FanDuel, 5-6 on DK. We're looking at 14 to 15 carries, around 70 to 75 yards. I think Jerome Ford gets dangerously close to that 5 yards a carry mark. He's already, for the season, he's been at around 4.1, 4.2. So that would be a drastic leap to get to 5. But again, it wouldn't be drastic against a team who is dead last against running back. So to me, this week, Jerome Ford, every carry he gets, going to be looking at 4.5, 5.5 yards a carry. So you'd have to just do the math. 15 times 5, 17 times 5, and boom, there's your yardage total, and a couple receptions for around 20 yards. So to me, Jerome Ford and Stevenson are anchoring a ton of lineups that I'm in this week. And as we go down, Isaiah Pacheco, we can move on from Pacheco, but I just want people to know, because DFS and seasonal sports, mostly, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, or even you, Dave, it's more about reassurance. People just want reassurance that they're on the right path or that they're doing the right thing. And I'm here to tell folks, Pacheco against the Vegas Raiders in Las Vegas is an outstanding move. When we saw him last against Philadelphia, he ran really, every run was just hard, and he was just trying to lay the boom. And get this, Pacheco, one of those running backs, always falls forward. It's never found in a box score or or a sheet or a box score or a cheat sheet or anything, but Pachenko will always put a hit on someone and he will always fall forward. That's what I'm looking for. Javonte Williams. Now, here's the dilemma with Javonte. The volume is going to be there. The kid gloves are off with him. That injury is well behind him, but going against this Cleveland defense is going to be tough sledding. The Cleveland Browns defense is unbelievable. And right now, Cleveland is going for their 8th win. Cleveland after today could be 8-3, and that's a great sight to see. When Cleveland and the Lions, and too bad the Jets aren't good, or it would be like the apocalypse. But to me, Javonte Williams going against the Cleveland Browns DST, it could be a good move, but it could kill you. And it depends, like, what are you? Do you have some stones? You want to put some hair on your chest? Because Javonte, to me, is going to see, all the work right there. Jaleel McLaughlin will get a couple carries, and so what? And if you wanted to do the double-headed bond the same game, it would be Javonte and Samaje Perine. Samaje Perine would be your receptions guy at running back, and Javonte would be your carries guy at running back. I have Javonte 17 to 18 carries, 75 to 80 yards, and a reception or two for another 15 to 20 yards. So to me, it's all about these duos and these combos. And again, ownership percentage for the Denver Broncos running backs are going to be extremely suppressed because
that's actually not
they're not. That's nuts to me, because I would think most people would see Cleveland and go, I don't want to bother, and that it would just be a surface level.
I don't understand it. So I probably would have been fairly off on Javonte anyways, but it's baffling to me that Taylor and Javonte are projected as 2 of the top 5, and Taylor number 1 by a lot. 2 of the top 5 projected running backs this week. And so to me, that's bad chalk to me. No, not that Javonte's chalk, but we're talking like 15, 18%. And I just can't do it.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough pill to swallow for me. And I don't really swallow pills that much. Not like in my olden days. But when you look at Javonte, I'm still in on him to a certain extent. I've already built some lines, and if you know me, one of my it's probably one of my top 3 rules when it comes to DFS. Don't tinker. And once I've entered a line, I leave it be. If I got to spend another $1 to enter a new one, I will. Once I enter a line, I leave it alone. So all my Javonte lines, they're going to be left as is. A few more, and I'll be quick with them. Kenny Gainwell, Philly's paying Buffalo. Kenny Gainwell hasn't done much. It's been the DeAndre Swift show. But when you look at this DVP matchup in this game, it's a heavyweight fight. This is an absolute going to be, as JR would say in the WWF, an absolute slobber knocker. Today at 425. The Bills go to Philadelphia, and but Philadelphia's rolling 9 wins. They're going to be just fine. When you look at Buffalo, they can't afford to lose too many more games. They need to get this thing going and rolling. And Allen and Cook, they all need to hold on to the ball. But when you look at, it has nothing to do with Kenny Gainwell. DeAndre Swift going to see a majority of the work, but I think could be a case to be made for Kenny Gainwell to pick up the slack for us Jerick McKinnon people who were like, I wanted to play Jerick McKinnon in another game. I think the direct pivot for Jerick McKinnon in a separate game would be Kenny Gainwell. 5-7 on FanDuel, 4-9 on DK. And we will move on. Ezekiel Elliott again, Ramondre Stevenson and Zeke Elliott against the Giants. That matchup is good enough for me to want both of those running backs. And last but not least, Taj Spears. You talked about him briefly when you mentioned Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry, given the matchup against Carolina, they're 31st against opposing running backs. Taj Spears, to me, I know what my next statement isn't going to matter much because we're talking about right here and now. Locke is about 27 minutes away, something like that. Derrick Henry is going to do a ton of damage. Wouldn't be shocked if Derrick Henry got to 200 yards. To me, it's like set a stopwatch. How fast can Derrick Henry get to a $150, a $180, and then 200? Because Taj Spears is going to get those receptions, and as soon as Derrick Henry gets to X amount of yardage, I think that Tennessee, not going to blow Carolina out, but Tosh Spears is going to see double-digit targets and touches in this one. And he's 5-1 on FanDuel, 4-4 on DK. And again, every running back I mentioned, I think finds the end zone in some form or fashion, whether it's on the ground or in the air, and I'll leave it at that. Before we get to, I'll toss you the most expensive wide receiver, Dave, and then I'll give you the Wayne's World high sign where you go, and then you toss it that way. It's AJ Brown, and why wouldn't it be? But last week, AJ Brown, it was shocking. He did nothing, absolutely nothing. But this week, as I said, Philly plays Buffalo. Buffalo's 14th against opposing wide receivers. And you can just look at box scores. You can set your watch by it. One week it's AJ, then the next week it's Devonta. Last week it was Devonta. So I'd imagine AJ Brown is going to get a whole lot of love this week. And he is the most expensive running back on the main slate, at least. So, Dave, where are you going with wide receivers in your cash games today?
Yeah, let me get to a question here from Miguel real fast. This Shauna is Saquon. He's asking Saquon or Njoku or Derrick Henry and Kincaid in single entry. And for me, let's break it down to running backs. Henry or Saquon. I would prefer Henry because the ceiling is massive there. And I think that his ceiling is higher than Saquon's, but it's close enough. Njoku or Kincaid, crazy as I might be, it's Njoku for me. Njoku's actually my silly string pick this week. I think he is ridiculously undervalued this week. So in that case, I could chalk it up as basically a tie. I do like Njoku more than Kincaid, but I know that that's different. I like Henry on the other side more than Saquon. So it's pretty much a toss-up. The way that I like to decide toss-ups in MME single entry stuff like that is ownership percentage, and both Saquon and Njoku are going to be lower owned than Henry and Kincaid. So for me, if that's what I'm debating between, it's very easily Saquon and Njoku.
Yeah, to me, I absolutely love Njoku this week. I absolutely love Kincaid this week. As crazy as it sounds, Miguel, why can't you play Njoku and Kincaid? Toss out the running backs and just play both of the tight ends. That might be crazy, but again, it's week 12. There's only 10 games on the main slate. People have been home for like 5 days now, digging in and just doing nonstop. Not saying fade Henry completely, but maybe pop in Henry. I assume this is a DFS lineup, right? He says single entry. Yeah. So why can't you put Henry in one of the running back spots, and then Njoku and Kincaid tight end, and then your other flex spot? That's what I would do. Is I would want in on Njoku and Kincaid, and then if Henry fits in, he does. If not, I'm cool with that. I'm going to run with both of the tight ends, as nuts as it may seem, because again, Njoku and Kincaid, part of that 4 p.m. kind of actually no. Yeah, I am. Yeah, Cleveland plays at 4:05, Buffalo at 4:25. So to me, I would love both tight ends, as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah, no, we'll get to it. I'll talk about double tight end here in a little bit, but wide receivers for me, I'll make it quick because we're running out of time, but Tank Dell was pretty much locked in for me right from the beginning. I expect that game to be high scoring. Tank Dell's been ridiculous. 10, 14, 11, targets the last 3 weeks, over 30 points in 2 of them. Easy peasy Tank Dell. Michael Pittman, great matchup there with, Tampa. We know, I'm off of the Jonathan Taylor, so that puts me on Pittman. I don't think Pittman's going to be highly, or I don't think he's going to be leveraged at all. He's still going to be pretty highly owned. A lot of people are on all sides of that, oddly enough. But I really like Pittman there. On the same token, Josh Downs is just as interesting. He's going to be playing out of the slot, and Tampa is especially bad against slot receivers. But for cash, I'm going Pittman. I feel like he's safer. But you could argue value-wise that, Downs has the better upside, as far as that's concerned. So I would prefer Downs in MME. But Christian Kirk's another guy. Christian Kirk is just consistent. I have people ask me in our private Discord, why it is I'm playing Kirk this week with Zay Jones back. And it just comes down to the fact that I said in there that, he's like the perfect cash wide receiver, and that's not true. A guy like Amon-Ra is the perfect cash because he's scoring a lot more points. But Kirk has got at least 2.5x, 7 out of 10 games. And we know that offense in Jacksonville hasn't been too fantastic until as of late. So I think that Jones is very much just like the safer play, and his price is great. He's 5,700 on DraftKings. So, for that floor and that price, I like it. Khalil Shakur, Greg Dortch, Justin Watson. I like all three of those guys if you need to pay down and save some salary. I think it's supposed to be raining pretty much the entirety of this Philadelphia and Buffalo game. So that scares me a little bit. But Shakir usually gets those, short targets, those short passes. So I don't know how much that affects him. Greg Dortch, he's always been a guy that Kyler likes. He did nothing all year, and then all of a sudden last week he had a really big week. Is that a blip on the radar, or is that for real? I don't know. I don't really like it for cash so much, but I had to put him in the pool. MME, I think it's interesting because he should be pretty low owned, and it gets you leverage, off of a guy like McBride. And then Justin Watson, he had tons of targets last week. He dropped most of them, but he had tons of targets. So at, whatever he is, like 3,300, again, a guy that I think you can save cash on. And then I talked about Josh Downs' last one, Demario Douglas. He's been seeing great volume. I believe they're going back to Mac Jones this week. I don't think that matters who the quarterback is there. It's just good volume at a pretty cheap price. The ceiling isn't there, but again, I'm not really worried about ceiling for cash.
Yeah, and to be fair, and I'm not kidding when I say this, every wide receiver you mentioned is what I have written down for bottom of the barrel wide receivers this week. So that leaves me not too much to talk about. Douglas, I know the guys before they kicked it to us, it was I forget what it was a start sit question. One of them was I don't know. And then Gabe Davis. I think Gabe Davis is an all right move this week. He didn't do nothing. He didn't even see not even one reception. I don't even think he had a target last week, which is strange. And it's just the ebb and flow of Gabe Davis. But again, Philly dead last against opposing wide receivers. This could be the week where it's Gabe Davis over Shakir, but I wouldn't mind playing both of them in favor of of Diggs, right? You never want to fade Diggs, but if you wanted to have some stones again, you're going to play in 100,000, 800,000 or 80,000, man or woman GPP. You got to get weird. You got to get wild. And to me, Gabe Davis and Shakir would be a great move. We talked about Downs a ton. As you said, Demario Davis, Patriots are playing the Giants. His target share has wound up being, last I looked, I think it was 21 or 22.8%, something like that. Demario Douglas will get his. I love both of those Arizona wide receivers, Rondale Moore and Greg Dortch. Those are, outstanding. I mentioned Darius Slayton, but now since then he is going to be inactive. So in favor of that, maybe Wan'Dale Robinson sees a little bit more action, and he's only 5.2 on FanDuel. 3.8 on DK, $11 on Yahoo. How about the rookie Trey Palmer?
So hey, real quick, Darius Slayton is active today.
Wow. When he
was listed as doubtful.
Yeah, he was all right. I thought he was,
but no, he's playing. I skipped him because I didn't think it really mattered a whole lot. But no, he's active.
Yeah, that's strange. When we were when was it? When we were broadcasting on Wednesday, someone said, no, he's already been labeled out. Well, Darius Slayton makes for a nice move to be stacked with Tommy DeVito, as I said above, because they have somehow carved out some sort of chemistry in Slayton. 5.7 on FanDuel, 3.5 on DK. Back to Trey Palmer, and again, Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Tommy DeVito. Boom, there's your New York Giants trio that you didn't know that you needed against the Patriots. Trey Palmer is a rookie, and you're like, well, why would I want to screw with any wide receiver in Tampa Bay not named what are they, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin? But Trey Palmer has been okay. He's seen around 4 or 5 targets a game, 40, no more than 40 to 50 yards, but given his price tag, yet again, he makes for a nice move. I love the idea of Jonathan Mingo. Not a lot of folks, another rookie from this rookie class, not a lot of folks are talking about him. And I know it's tough because Bryce Young has been awful. But again, we need to shook and jive, right? There's give 10 games on the slate. Again, people have been looking at this thing for days on end with no breaks. No one's had to go to work, no responsibilities. So to me, looking at maybe a little bit of a Carolina stack I wouldn't get crazy with it, but to be fair, let's that old Kansas City shuffle. Well, everybody's looking this way, we're going to go this way. And with Jonathan Mingo, it could be a thing. And again, Justin Watson, Alec Pierce, Greg Dortch, all guys mentioned in my notes as well. So we have we have 17 minutes before lock. And I know there's a lot of seasonal teams that need to be, we need to get our lineups locked in. We need to get our DFS lineups locked in. So Dave, I'll toss it to you. I don't have many tight ends. I have, a few DST. So we could tie this thing up in a bow pretty quickly here. And I'll give it to you to talk about a few tight ends.
Yeah, so I'm going double tight end in cash this week, and that's not where I was initially, and I didn't think that I had to get there at all, because to me, double tight end typically is, first of all, it's an MME thing, right? I don't even like to do it there, but sometimes if there's no value on the slate, that's the way that you can artificially, create it. And this was actually a question that I got and talked about in depth at the Fantasy Football Expo. Was somebody had asked me specifically about, double tight end. The reason I didn't expect it this week is there's plenty of value on the slate. There's some running back value. Like I said, one of my favorite plays in MME is Jaylen Warren. He's cheap. I just named you how many cheap wide receivers that you can play. The tight ends are not expensive, but they're not, that punt range that I typically like to play. They're kind of in the middle. But the way it worked out, I was having a hard time, getting a lineup that I liked. There was always just something that just didn't like it, and I just kept, trying to re-put the pieces together. And finally I went, well, you know what, let me try a couple of things. And one of them was, let me try throwing in a couple tight ends, because I was having a hard time between the three guys I was looking at: Trey McBride, David Njoku, Dalton Kincaid. And really what it came down to is, like I said earlier, I really, really like Njoku this week. I mean, he just had 15 targets last week. How often does a tight end get 15 targets? And so now that we've got, DTR playing for the rest of the year, I don't necessarily think Njoku is going to get 15 targets again, but Njoku did that last week against a top 5 schedule-adjusted defense of tight ends. He now gets, a matchup against, I don't have the number in front of me, but they're, 28, 29, 30th, whatever it is, in schedule adjusted points. So he gets an even better matchup here. I really wanted to play Njoku, but I kept coming to McBride as the one who made the most sense. So finally I said, you know what, why can't I just play them together and let me see if those salary savings make it to where I can fulfill the rest of my lineup of guys that I like. Because even if you think about, Trey McBride or Njoku, if you think of them as a $4,100 or a $4,700 wide receiver, because, those guys are more wide receivers than tight ends, all of a sudden they would be a great play. Njoku as a $4,100 wide receiver, I would have had him locked in early in the week. But because he's a tight end, it just feels different to play a tight end in the flex. But that's where I end up going. So I love Njoku. I think, like I said, he's my silly string pick this week. I think he's going to have, a really good day. And then McBride with, the guys out there in Arizona, I think he's a great play as well. So I put them together, and, I like Dalton Kincaid as well. I already talked about how that weather scares me. I'm actually off of everything in Philadelphia and Buffalo, partly for leverage, but that rain really scares me. It is looking like it is going to rain the entirety of the game. So I pivoted all of my exposure there to DeAndre Swift paired with the Eagles defense, which, wasn't even a bad play early in the week. But I think that's really good leverage. And I know I kind of got in there with the defense, but we'll talk more about that here in a second. But yeah, that's me at tight end. It's going to be a unique week in cash for me.
Yeah, and we are exactly on the same page in this one in terms of tight ends. Kincaid, obviously for obvious reasons in Philadelphia. Trey McBride is at home playing the Rams. Dalton Schultz is someone I like, and I didn't get to mention it too much today at least, but the Jacksonville at Houston game has a ton of fantasy goodness to go around, and this one could wind up being the highest scoring game of the slate. That's just an idea of mine, right? Houston, Jacksonville, going for it, in the same division. And again, these two teams, let me double check this before I say it out loud, but I'm almost certain that the winner of this game would be
in first place.
In first place for the time being, for a short. So that, the Houston and Jacksonville, you're like, oh my God, these two teams have been, you can't shake that mantra, or you can't shake that silliness here. But Houston and Jacksonville makes for a great game stack, and why wouldn't we use Dalton Schultz? Granted, he's a little bit more expensive than I'd like for bottom of the barrel purposes, let's say. But Jacksonville 23rd overall against opposing tight ends. Kyle Pitts, the Atlanta Falcons, playing the Saints. It's all green there for Kyle Pitts. Saints 28th overall against opposing tight ends. And as you scroll down, the further you scroll down, the darker and deeper it gets. But I want to mention Daniel Bellinger briefly, right? If I'm in on, for some odd reason, I didn't think it would be the case, but 49 minutes ago when we started this broadcast, I didn't know it, but for some odd reason now, I like the idea of like a full New York Giants stack. And, it would start with, DeVito and right down to their wide receivers, Wandale Slayton, and then throw in Daniel Belly and see what we get. But again, Pat Freiermuth is playing Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. These two teams hate each other, and it's always a close game. And that means, inside the red zone, it's going to be, tight packages, two tight end sets, and who knows, Pat Freiermuth breaks off. He can catch a pass, what would he see? 2-3 targets, 2 to 3 receptions, 30 yards and a touchdown. You mentioned Tommy Tremble, maybe catching a touchdown. That could be a thing. But last and not least, and I promise this is my last one, the Vegas Raiders are playing Kansas City today in Las Vegas. And again, Kansas City should, by all means, get ahead and just be rolling, meaning that the Vegas Raiders and Aiden O'Connell is going to have to throw the ball. And Michael Mayer, this young rookie, is starting to come into his own a little bit each game here. So to me, Michael Mayer at only $4,900 on FanDuel makes a little bit of sense to kind of kick the tires on. And again, $4,900. We're not asking for a lot. 30 yards and a touchdown could be a lot, but to me, that would be the perfect stat line for Michael Mayer, which is well within reason. So, Dave, as we got about 8 or 9 minutes left, what's your top 2 or 3 DSTs?
Yeah, I mean, for cash, it's the Chiefs for me. I think that the Chiefs or the Patriots are where, I don't know, 85% of ownership is going to go for defense. And I don't think that either one of them are going to be so chalky like we see in a lot of weeks where you can't use them in MME. The other one that I would mention is if you need to save money, you would defense is where you do it. I think the Texans are okay. As far as MME is concerned, like I mentioned, I really like the Eagles. I think that gets you some leverage off of all of these, stacks in this particular game. And then I really do like the idea of pairing it with DeAndre Swift. I think that gets you even more leverage, and it gets you correlated as well. So in a nutshell, that's kind of where I'm at for defense this week.
Yeah, that's excuse me, that's a wonderful thing. And as we kind of slow down here and get the heck out of here, I only have 1 or 2, and it would be the Pittsburgh Steelers are in Cincinnati. Jake Browning is their quarterback, but again, they still have Mixon and Chase and Boyd in the mix there. But again, another game where these two teams are in the same division and they absolutely hate each other's guts. Could this be a low scoring game? Yes, it could. For our sakes, I hope it's not, because you like Jaylen Warren and I do as well.
I love Jaylen Warren this week,
and I do as well. And Najee Harris, I'm in on Najee Harris this week. He was mentioned in bottom of the barrel. Denver and Cleveland, this game as well. I don't care. You could put Denver's DST or Cleveland's DST. This game at Mile High Stadium points could be at a premium, but I think we've done a good job the last few days kind of pinpointing where those points would come from. And realistically, Dave, that is all I have, because we need to get the heck out of here. So I hope everybody has enjoyed. What a week it's been. We had Thanksgiving. We had we've had a game almost every day, and yesterday was college football. It was outstanding. So hopefully everybody is happy and healthy. It is Sunday, back to the work week tomorrow, or the salt mines, as my grandma would say. But Dave, any last words before we split here today?
Jalen Warren, David Njoku. That's what I got.
Absolutely. Love that. So everybody, be good, be safe, and we will see you again very soon. Goodbye. Enjoy your Sunday.
Yeah, good luck.